Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Meiman, the concept of gods, starting from God rewards those who work hard. Chapter 61. Loki stared blankly. His eyes reflected endless airwaves and monstrous sea of flames. Countless frost titans rushing towards the battlefield were destroyed by the aftermath of the terrifying explosion. Shockwave alone can cause countless deaths. The royal court of Frost Titan was reduced to ashes under this explosion. None of the buildings on it were spared. Just as Aaron was about to speak, Sif forcefully replied, "Are you trying to talk about magic again?" Looking at Aaron, Sif said angrily, "Except for you, I have never seen other magicians who can use magic to create such huge amounts of destructive power one after another. If other magicians could have your ability, would I have gone to be a warrior?" Fandral also echoed, "That's right, to be honest, if I didn't see the embarrassment of other magicians, I would immediately go to the Academy of Magic to apply for admission when I go back." Agreed. Vorstag raised his hand in agreement. Hogan nodded too. Seeing this, Aaron didn't use the word magic to perfunctory, but said, "Actually, it's nothing. Didn't I tell you that I made a big guy before? I made a little improvement on that thing in the past 2 days. Well, using magic. 1 inch. Then it explodes a little bit more powerfully. You call it a little bit." Laufey said something. Sif rolled his eyes, staring at the ruined city road. "Do you think Laufey will be crushed by this blow?" Vorstag asked curiously. Hearing this, everyone's eyes fell on Aaron. And Aaron frowned. Will Laufey die? If Laufey is directly in the center without any precautions, the probability of death is not small. He didn't have much idea of how strong Laufey's physique was. Logically speaking, as a strong man who can fight against Odin, Laufey should not be afraid of nuclear bombs. After all, awakening Thor can resist part of the energy of the neutron star for tens of seconds when he builds the storm axe. If Laufey had Thor's physicality at that time or Hulk's physicality, the chances of death would still be very low. But considering that the Doomsday next door was killed by a nuclear bomb once, and Loki easily killed Laufey with the gun of eternity, Laufey might actually die. What's more, the nuclear bomb he made by using materialized magic added an energy explosion and injected a lot of magic power. The explosive power is beyond imagination. Maybe Laufey won't die, but he will definitely be hit hard. In this regard, Aaron is still confident. Moreover, he has backhands. Asgard. When he learned that Thor led Aaron and others to Jotunheim to find trouble with the Frost Titan, Odin was in a bad mood at the moment and wanted to beat Thor up. Is Frost Titan that easy to deal with? It took a lot of time for him to lead the army to suppress it. Why does Thor think that just a few of them can make the other party subdue? Just rely on his little hammer. Idiot. Odin felt his eyes dim. Although Thor did a stupid thing, he had to rush to the rescue. He knew Laufey's character, maybe because of his previous prestige, he wouldn't act immediately. But you must not expect the other party to be kind. Once the war breaks out, the lives of Thor and the others will be in danger. That's the future of Asgard. Odin couldn't imagine tomorrow if they all died in Jotunheim. Even if the entire Jotunheim is smashed, it will be difficult to recover the loss, and the anger in my heart cannot be calmed down. Odin quickly put on his battle armor and helmet, and summoned the 8-legged horse to turn on the horse. Holding the eternal spear, he seems to have returned to the moment when he once conquered the 9 realms. However, the cloudy eyes that can already see, as well as the already old appearance, all indicate that this god king has gone to dusk. Heimdall, see how they're doing, hope it's all in time. Heimdall looked over immediately upon hearing the order, and then his face changed drastically. What's wrong? Did that guy Laufey kill him? Who did it happen? Loki. Sif. Seeing this, Odin was distraught. He can be sure that Thor is okay, because if there is something wrong with Thor, he must have a sense. If it's not Thor, it's probably Loki and others. No, it's Laufey. Something happened to Laufey. Heimdall looked horrified. He saw countless Frost Titans howling. He saw life dying. He also saw the Frost Titan King, dragging his broken body and struggling to walk in the flames. His body was covered in blood, and his eyes were full of anger. Laufey, hit hard. Unprecedented weakness. What happened to Laufey? Let me see. Hearing that it was Laufey who had the accident, Odin was very surprised. He didn't think Thor and the others had the strength to defeat Laufey. Even though Mjolnir is extremely powerful, Thor has no real awakening power, and he has no chance of winning against Laufey and his many fangs. Odin turned his sights to Heimdall, and immediately saw Laufey in a state of distress. Laufey looked up to the sky and roared. The roar contained endless anger and killing intent. The destruction of the royal court, the casualties of tens of thousands of clansmen, and his own wounds made Laufey wish to tear the Asgardians to pieces immediately. Hearing Laufey's roar, the frost titans outside the killing range attacked the flames without fear. The cold air extinguished the heat, and the ruins were once again covered by ice. Rip the vile and shameless Asgardians to pieces. They must not be allowed to leave Jotunheim alive. Was this caused by Thor? When did Thor have this power? Odin is well aware of Thor's strength. He does have great potential, and he can even surpass himself in the future, but at this stage, it is absolutely impossible for Thor to have the strength to destroy the Frost Titan King Court and even Zhang Laufey. Where's Thor? What are they doing? Odin shifted his gaze and saw Thor and the others talking in the distance. They looked into Aaron's eyes, full of wonder and respect. Listen to what they're saying. Heimdall's ability is not just as simple as seeing. As long as Heimdall is willing, he can even hear conversations within the range of sight. But listen, they both look weird. The explosion in Jotunheim, created by Aaron's magic. He even used magic to summon the thunder that Thor can summon, killing countless frost titans. When will the ordinary magic taught by the Magic Academy have such power? Odin knew best. Although the Academy of Magic contains a lot of magic and involves all aspects of magic knowledge, the most important magic is not included. But in his brain, where did Aaron learn more esoteric magic? Moreover, in his mind, there is no magic that can summon thunder and create a super big explosion. Could it be that Aaron researched it himself? Thinking of what Frigg said, Aaron had improved illusion magic. Odin couldn't help but mutter. God King, do we still have to go? Heimdall turned and asked. Odin regained his senses, looked at Laufey who was gathering the army, and his head ached even more. Go, bring Thor and them back. Jotunheim. Frost Titans movement has been seen by several people. Some of the Frost Titans that were closer had already rushed up, launching a suicide attack on several people. They dropped all defenses, just want to bite off a piece of meat from the Asgardians. That pair of vicious, like a very hungry beast, the body is completely occupied by hunger. Go, Frost Titan is already crazy. If you don't go, it will be too late. Sif said urgently. Hearing this, everyone at the scene glanced at Aaron tacitly. Taking over the lair and killing countless titans, isn't it crazy? If the Golden Hall was invaded and destroyed by the enemy, I believe that all Asgard people will be like Frost Titan today. Even if they die, they will bring the enemy to be buried with them. At this time, a tall figure quickly approached here. Although the man looked very embarrassed, with dust covering his whole body, several people could recognize his identity, Ice Titan King Laufey. It's a pity, it didn't die. If I knew it earlier, I would add a little more material. Aaron sighed softly, making everyone else's hairs stand on end. Asgard people, don't even think about leaving, leave them all to me. I'm going to tear you apart. Laufey endured the severe pain and yelled at Aaron and others. In order to take revenge, he crazily agitated his magic power, created an ice bridge, and rushed towards him directly. Heimdall, Thor shouted. The next moment, the light of Bifrost descended from the sky. Along with it, the tall figure of Odin appeared. The Father of God. Look at what your people are doing. If eyes can kill dead man, Odin has been killed hundreds of times by law. Laufey, stop here. After scanning a circle of enemies, Odin said calmly. Stop, you tell me to stop here. Ha 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 ha. All of this belongs to your son. Laufey seemed to have heard a big joke, and his hands were already condensing ice blades. Yes, this is just a child's nonsense, don't make a fuss about it. You and I can just call it a day and not trigger further killings. Odin kept his eyes on Laufey, wary of his possible next move. But saying this sentence, he himself felt a little inappropriate. You regard the series of things that destroyed my palace, slaughtered countless people, and injured me as a child's nonsense. Your brat is really young and out of blue. Laufey was out of breath. Finish. Your children, your people, have done so much to me, Jotunheim, and you tell me to call it a day. Odin, just because I signed a treaty with you doesn't mean I'm afraid of you. It's not that you wantonly insult my support. Now you are exhausted and old. Now, do you still think that you are as vigorous and invincible as you were 1,000 years ago? Laufey gritted his teeth and said, want me to end it? Yes, leave Thor and Aaron behind, and I'll make them pay in blood. You know, it's impossible. Odin refused without thinking. Thor is his designated heir, although now he is a little stupid, a little arrogant, a little childish. Well, the negatives are quite a few. But no matter what, he is his only child at present. And the only heir. As for Aaron, Odin didn't think about it any further. Surely Thor couldn't hand it over anyway. Well, in this case, there is no need to talk about this matter. He'll get what he wants. War and death. Superior. Laufey led the charge. This time, he was no longer on the sidelines like before. He wants to tear the culprit who caused all this to pieces. Walk. Odin took a spear for a while, and the huge divine power blocked the attack of the Frost Titan and repelled everyone including Laufey. In a blinding light, all returned to Asgard. Odin, Asgard. You will pay for your stupidity. Laufey let out the unwilling roar of a loser. If he could, he would make all of Asgard come to nothing. King, those Asgardians left something behind. At this time, a deep voice came from behind. What? Laufey asked without looking back. Oh, Laufey subconsciously felt that something was wrong, so he turned his head abruptly. While turning his head, the ice blade went to the back barrel. But, it's too late. Behind him, a guy with the appearance of a Frost Titan, holding an Asgardian dagger, pierced Laufey's chest from behind. Consciousness is passing. All movements stopped at this moment. Are you, Aaron? Congratulations, you got the answer right, and I'll give you another reward. The Frost Titan changed back to Aaron's appearance, and then exploded with a bang under Laufey's desperate and hateful eyes. The other Frost Titans gathered around watched their king being pierced by Aaron. Before he could react, another violent explosion sounded. They once again experienced a catastrophe. All the cliffs are crumbling. After the explosion is over, can you still see Laufey and the enemy? Even the bodies were wiped out in the explosion. A generation of Frost Titan kings has just fallen. Heimdall, watch out for Laufey, I need to know everything about him. Odin called Heimdall as soon as he came back. These things happened, Laufey will not let it go. He needs to be ready. Heimdall nodded and observed Jotunheim. Father, why did you take us away? At this point, Thor questioned. His original idea was to temporarily leave through Bifrost, and then prepare for the war and wipe out Jotunheim in one fell swoop. But the arrival of Odin made him immediately overthrow this idea. At that time, he wanted to work with Odin to destroy the enemies including Laufey. You saw what Laufey was like, he was battered and weak. We should join hands and take this opportunity to get rid of the Frost Titan problem. Hearing Thor's first questioning, Odin managed to breathe a sigh of relief, and then roared. Because of your recklessness, the war between the two countries was triggered. Nearly let your friend die in Jotunheim because of your ego. It even caused the 9 realms to fall into chaos again. Thor immediately retorted, I'm only defending my homeland, and the Titans of Jotunheim must pay for their trespass into Asgard. If we don't act, the next time they come, they won't be stealing, but leading an army. We must eliminate the crisis in advance before all this happens. Odin was furious. He also wants to completely eliminate the crisis of the Frost Titan. But he knows that killing cannot solve all problems. And he also needs Laufey to stabilize the Frost Titan, abide by the agreement, and let Loki become the bond between the two races in the future to maintain peace. Furthermore, Laufey was badly injured and he was very weak. If it is not necessary, it will never be taken lightly. Otherwise, why is he in such a hurry to crown Thor as the new king? Odin was about to scold Thor. Heimdall's face changed wildly again. What's wrong? That guy Laufey is raising an army to go to war with us. The father of God, Laufey is dead. Heimdall looked at Aaron in disbelief. Laufey is dead. As soon as these words came out, the whole air froze. And Aaron's pale face showed a smile. Fortunately he didn't miss. Before leaving, Aaron secretly split an energy duplication and left most of the magic on the duplication. And used the shapeshifting technique to change it into the appearance of a Frost Titan. Super high magic attainments, fooled Odin, fooled Heimdall, also fooled the bandits. No one noticed that among the many Frost Titans, a death god was mixed in. Wait until Laufey's attention is absorbed by Bifrost, and then launch a fatal blow. Backstab plus all mana explosions. If this doesn't kill him, then he has to re-evaluate Laufey's strength. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. What happened after we left? Odin frowned, and things were completely out of control. Although Laufey was injured, he definitely would not die. It's Eren. Heimdall's eyes were complicated. A strong man who made Asgard extremely difficult, died so easily at the hands of a beginner in magic. Simply creepy. Heimdall didn't keep his eyes on Jotunheim. Not sure how Eren did it. In the short time he reported to Odin, he first hit Laufey hard, completely destroying its lair, and then after everyone returned to Asgard, his backhand was a lore. Is this still magic for beginners? In the whole of Asgard, the only one who can do this is the great father of God. No, God's acquaintance is also old. I'm afraid it's hard for him too. Eren, how did you do that? Wait, are you really Eren? Could it be just a duplication? Sif tried to squeeze Eren's arm. Well, the real physical touch is quite predictable. Eren rolled his eyes and complained, didn't you see that I am so weak now? The attack is not light or heavy, and you have no idea of your own strength. Sif squeezed it a few times, but it still hurts a bit. I don't know how this woman is tall. In terms of strength, she may be stronger than Fandral. And he is only stronger than ordinary Asgards, and not as good as Sif. Coupled with too much energy consumption, the body is also a little weaker. This hurts. A man can't say he can't do it. Sif replied with a smile, earning Eren another look. Killed the famous Laufey, can it be justified? In order to kill him, Eren teleported back and forth 2 times to absorb the magic power. Several large ones were placed in a row. If it were any other magician, there might not be any juice left. What's more, he has been in contact with magic for such a short time, it's fine if he doesn't get down. Eren ignores Sif, but first tells his plan to kill Laufey. Definitely, things related to the Fountain of Wisdom are simply ignored. Good job, Eren. Although he didn't kill Laufey himself, Thor still waved the hammer excitedly. You have this plan, how good it is to tell me in advance. If the 2 of us cooperate together, wouldn't it be random killing? If you want me to say, there's no need to be so troublesome. At that time, you should have informed me, clear away the miscellaneous soldiers that get in the way, and create a chance for me to get close to Laufey, and I can kill him alone. Thor doesn't think he can beat Laufey. He is very reassuring about his meow hammer. With the hammer in hand, I have the world. He's just a defeated underling of Asgard, what's the point? Eren laughed and said, I also thought about it temporarily. I thought that a magic bomb would send the opponent away, but I didn't expect that Laufey's life was so hard that he was far from dead. Before we were going to go back, we only thought of using duplication to sneak in, to see if there was a chance. Alas, it's a pity that I didn't kill Laufey myself. Thor still feels a little regretful. If he killed Laufey, he would be able to shock the 9 realms. Let all the countries that secretly mock Asgard know that the newly appointed Lord of Asgard is a powerful and brave king. Okay Thor, Eren did it for revenge, and Laufey died at our hands, it doesn't make any difference. Fandral comforted. Yes, no matter what, our operation is a success. Frost Titan has learned from the past. I believe that other countries will not have second thoughts. Sif nodded. Thor agreed. That's right, they should all be honest this time, but Eren, next time this kind of opportunity should be left to me, you can't snatch it all by yourself. Last time in Vanaheim, I gave you all the people. Eren heard the words, nodded to show understanding. The other side, hearing Eren's chain-to-chain plan, even Odin couldn't help sighing and admiring it. He hadn't had a second thought about Eren's preparation to kill Laufey in advance. Everyone present knew that Eren's parents died of labor crimes. Shouldn't it be revenge for the family? Others don't have the strength to take revenge, but Eren killed Laufey through his own efforts and preparations, so what's wrong? If I'm wrong, it's Thor. Odin looks at Thor, full of anger. Thor's actions this time almost cost all of Asgard's future. If it weren't for Eren's superb magic skills and strength, perhaps someone would have died in battle before he arrived. These are the elite of Asgard. It was with great difficulty that he selected enough loyal and brave fighters for Thor, and every death was a loss. Thor, regardless of the overall situation, relied on his own bravery and brute force, and almost gave his helper to Huo Huo. How can this work? Moreover, although Laufey is dead, the hatred between the two countries is getting deeper and deeper. Those Frost Titans will definitely target Asgard. They are not as rational as the Warner Protoss. To deal with Vanaheim, you only need to suppress small-scale rebellions occasionally. And once the Frost Titan rebelled, the whole clan must be united. I'm afraid they will be more exaggerated than when Laufey was alive. Because they have no constraints. At this time, Thor still didn't pay attention to Odin's thoughts. In the words, there is only contempt for other countries and contempt for Odin's executive strategy. With Aaron's help, we will be much stronger against other countries in the future. Whoever dares to be unconvinced and wants to cause turmoil, we will kill them and give them another blow. Kill their king. Let those who don't know what to do know the power of Asgard. Shut up, Odin yelled again. This kid is actually questioning his ruling philosophy. If not for his measures, how would Asgard usher in a millennium of peace? Thor froze for a moment, looking at Odin inexplicably. Father, Odin suppressed his anger, and said to Aaron and the others, go down and rest first, especially for Aaron to recover well, and yes, the king of God. In Asgard, no god king's orders can be disobeyed. Sif and the others saw Odin's anger and dissatisfaction with Thor, but they dared not say anything, so they left respectfully. When he was leaving, he gave Thor a wink, hoping that the other party would restrain his temper. As for Aaron, he followed suit. He already knew what was going to happen next. Odin is sending them away, and then punishing Thor. Despite his presence this time, the three warriors were unhurt and Laufey was killed, and it seemed all was well. But Thor's actions also exposed many of his shortcomings. If it is not contained and transformed, it will inevitably lead to a god or go in an uncontrollable direction when it becomes the master of Asgard in the future. What should come will always come. Aaron hadn't thought about speaking up for Thor on the matter. At this moment, no one can persuade Odin of rage to change his mind. Most importantly, Thor does need to experience setbacks to grow. And compared to the current Thor, Aaron still prefers the later Thor. As he was leaving, Aaron glanced at Loki, who was seriously out of order. Presumably Loki has begun to doubt his identity. Once the other party knows that he is the son of Laufey, how to deal with him? Continue to woo, or revenge? Aaron was curious about Loki's choice, but didn't have much worry in his heart. Because Loki is smart, and his affection for Frost Titan can be said to be zero. As the crowd departs, Thor finally encountered the same scene as the original again. Deprived of divine power, demoted to the earth. Less than a day. The thing about Jotunheim and Thor is completely hot. They knew why the coronation had been interrupted so suddenly. The Frost Titan violated the treaty and broke into the Golden Hall treasury boldly, attempting to take away the Casket of Ancient Winters, triggering another war between the two countries. I also know that Thor violated the king's order and stepped into the enemy's territory privately. Definitely, most importantly, everyone knows that the magic genius Aaron killed Laufey, the leader of the Ice Demon, and countless Frost Titans, which greatly thwarted the opponent's plot and brought Asgard unprecedented glory in 1,000 years. Hearing this news, the entire god realm immediately boiled. Aaron Manningson, the son of a hero who once participated in Vanaheim's suppression of the rebellion, and a magical evildoer, after a period of silence, once again made great achievements. Kill Laufey alone. How powerful this is. How exciting. This is the ultimate dream of every fighter, and for them, this is undoubtedly an impossible event. Today, however, Aaron did it. In the harsh situation of being outnumbered, use magic and wisdom to defeat the terrifying Ice Demon King. Adults praised Aaron one after another, and the number of admirers and followers surged again. The children were also very happy for the death of the leader of the Ice Demon, and they were no longer afraid of the legend of the Ice Demon. After the carnival, another news gave everyone a blow. Thor, the protagonist of the coronation ceremony, their beloved eldest prince and the future king of Asgard, was expelled by the God King because he committed suicide in Jotunheim and almost killed his companions in battle. Everyone is talking about this. Some agree, some disagree. Although Thor's actions were reckless and put his friends in danger, the end result was good. But out of respect and love for God King Odin, they gradually accepted this fact. At the moment, Golden Hall, Frigga said with a sad face, you deprived that child of his divine power and exiled him, and his life without power may be in danger. That's why I chose to exile him to Midgard, a country with low technology and generally weak power. Odin sighed and said, I'm running out of time, the man's crisis. I'm afraid I don't have the energy to deal with it. If Thor doesn't grow up again, Asgard. Frigg also sighed. She knows Thor's temperament, and it really needs to be sharpened. But as a mother, how could she let it go? Is Midgard weak? It does look weak. However, the water inside is very deep. The bottomless kind. Although Frigga didn't pay attention to Midgard deliberately, she knew something. For example, another group of gods once came to Midgard to deal with the vicious and brutal unknown monsters active on the earth. They also have some ties to Asgard. If memory serves me right, they are hiding on Earth right now. For another example, there is another magical force Kamar-Taj in Midgard. Their leader, a man named Sorcerer Supreme, has magic that even Odin fears. And behind it, stood a more powerful and ancient god. Midgard looks safe on the surface, but it is actually in crisis. If Thor's power is still there, she needn't worry. But now, maybe some ordinary people in Midgard can pose a threat to Thor. The Saw gods have not been active on Earth for too long. Whether the people there still remain in awe of them is unknown. Odin could see Frigga's worry, and he was actually worried too. But Thor, well, don't worry, as long as Thor understands what is protection and what is dedication as soon as possible, then he can raise Mjolnir again and become the Thor who controls thunder. Odin reassured. Then, he added, Asgard's hearts are floating now, maybe we need something to cheer people up. What's the matter? Frigg looked over. What do you think of Eren? Eren, you mean? Frigga looked surprised. Odin nodded. Eren killed Laufey with wisdom and magic, and now his prestige in Asgard is second only to you and me. With his magical attainments and combat exploits, he is worthy of that title. I intend to fulfill my previous promise. Frigg did not object, and even nodded in agreement. Yeah, his intelligence and ability are unique in this generation. With Thor's assistance in the future, Asgard will definitely move towards a better future. Seeing that Frigga had no opinion and agreed, Odin also made up his mind. Since that's the case, it's decided like this. A new god of magic is coming to Asgard. At the same moment, a house that is too ordinary to be ordinary. While others are partying, Eren could only practice magic hard. Now, though, Eren is a restless person. For strength, he can only roll constantly. Carry out molecular rearrangement again and again, trying to raise the molecular rearrangement to LV6 in the shortest time. In this way, there is no need to learn physical chemistry that is difficult to master in a lifetime. Thinking that if he didn't practice magic diligently, he might be destroyed by various disciplines like in his previous life, and Eren felt full of energy. Beside him, Amora looked at Eren curiously. She watched tirelessly, as if she wanted to see the flowers. Occasionally, he glanced at Eren's hand, marveling at his magical ability to change the molecular structure. Finally, she couldn't hold back her curiosity and asked, is this the final advanced magic molecular rearrangement of shapeshifting? Eren nodded, but shook his head again. Molecular rearrangement is correct, but it is not the final form. Can it be improved further? Amora was shocked. Being able to change the structure of Ulu metal at will is beyond the imagination of others. Transform objects from the molecular level, good money good. What a high level of magic this is. Amora wants to learn. But she found that no matter how many times she watched it, she couldn't learn it. It is too difficult, too profound. It is unimaginable how Eren was able to improve the advanced shapeshifting technique so quickly. However, this high-level magic is not yet the final level. How terrible would it be to continue to improve? Amora can't imagine. She thought of Eren killing Laufey again, and couldn't help but feel relieved. How long has it been? The other party grew from a rookie who barely resisted her mind magic to a powerful magician who independently killed Laufey. At this rate of growth, Eren will sooner or later become the most powerful man in Asgard. Proper potential stock. Amora's green pupils became more moist. Eren, do you think I'm beautiful? Your charm is useless to me. Eren thought Amora was testing ability, and said without looking back. Amora was dumbfounded. She was really useless to charm this time. I shouldn't have tried it in the first place. If I had directly attacked at that time, with my own charm, I'm afraid I would have won it now. Amora stared at Eren with puffed cheeks. Eyes are the windows of the soul, and she wants to let Eren know her heart with her eyes. Head hurts a bit. I am coming. Amora was refreshed, and immediately came behind Eren, serving him with poor massage skills. Putting cool and moist hands on the temples, the whole person felt quiet. Eren looked up in surprise. I didn't see the face. At this time, he noticed a person coming from the door. At the moment, Loki was wandering outside the door eating. Looking at the closed door, he felt uneasy. Shapeshifting. If anyone in Asgard can see shapeshifting, he's probably the only one. If the thought is true, what to do next? What if Eren finds out who he is? Loki lost his mind for a moment. Frost Titan, am I not from Asgard? If so, then everything makes sense. How can the king of Asgard allow an ice demon to become him? How can the great father of God love an outsider? But, am I really a frost titan? Thinking of the previous battle, when I was in contact with an ice demon, I was not affected by the ice magic, but some changes occurred in the arm I was in contact with. Loki shook his head vigorously. No, I cannot. When Loki hesitated, the door opened. Eren, Amora. Loki was about to say something, but found that the person in front of him was Amora. His eyes fell into a moment of confusion and then became extremely vigilant. As we all know, Amora is good at charm and probing people's mind. You must never let the other party know about those things about yourself. Amora glanced at Loki with an ugly face. This guy, he came at a really bad time. Come in, Eren is looking for you. After Amora finished speaking, she turned and left. This is what Eren requested. Amora can't refuse any of Eren's wishes, otherwise she will be judged by the gods. She hated Loki very much in her heart. If he hadn't come suddenly, how could she be kicked out? Loki glanced at Amora, and then at the room, showing a strange look. A man and a woman share a room. Before leaving, he also showed disgust for being spoiled by good things. By the gods, could it be that the magic evildoer actually had an affair with the enchanted witch? Are you looking for me? Eren was still sitting, not listening to the movements of his hands, and seemed to have no intention of welcoming him. If it were the previous Loki, he would probably be dissatisfied long ago. But at this moment, Loki was nervous, and even spoke cautiously. You learned the advanced magic of shapeshifting. Loki was also attracted by the movements in Eren's hands, and while his expression changed in surprise, he was overjoyed in his heart. Yeah, Eren replied flatly. Congratulations Eren, it seems that your attainment in shapeshifting has once again become the #1 person in the 9 realms. Loki admired it. First achieved the first achievement in illusion and invisibility, and now achieved the transcendence of shapeshifting in a short period of time. If I have this ability, maybe even if I am not from Asgard, I can get everyone's approval. Eren paused while practicing magic, and looked at Loki in surprise. Died. Loki actually congratulates others. What day is it today? All of them are not normal. At this time, Eren noticed that had a slightly unnatural expression on Loki's face. Thinking about what happened before, his brows suddenly relaxed. He guessed what Loki was coming for. The butterfly's wings flap again. Eren pointedly said, the #1 person in the 9 realms. Not necessarily, the king of gods shapeshifting technique is also very powerful. He has mastered the extremely advanced shapeshifting technique ability 1,000 years ago. Now maybe I have already mastered the higher level shapeshifting technique. Loki was taken aback. What's the meaning? Why deliberately refer to 1,000 years ago? That was the day of the decisive battle between Asgard and the Frost Titans. Coincidentally, both Loki and Eren were born during that time. Could it be that Eren has already seen that he has been subjected to shapeshifting? Loki's complexion was uncertain, and he couldn't figure out what the other party meant. He's a smart guy after all. After thinking about it for a while, Loki suddenly understood something. Eren, do you think an outsider can be king of Asgard? Outsiders. What is an outsider? Race or identity? Eren asked rhetorically. Race. Identity. That's right. Although I am not an Asgardian in terms of race, I am the second prince of Asgard in terms of identity. Nominally, I am on the terms of the king of Asgard. Now the biggest obstacle, Thor has been exiled. As long as he becomes the new king before he comes back, everything will be dusted. Loki, who was at a loss, soon realized where his advantage lies. No matter what purpose Odin adopted him for, it is well known that he is now the second prince of Asgard. As long as Odin doesn't disinherit him, then he's undisputed king. However, to be on the safe side, he still needs to do something. For example, win people's hearts. He needs the support of all of Asgard. The lower classes are easy to fool. The most important thing is the upper level. Sif, the three heroes, Frigga, and Odin and Eren. Among them, he values Odin and Eren the most. It's hard to get support from Odin. He can only try others first. Loki stared at Eren with fiery eyes. Tell me your conditions, I need your support, the support of a legend. Eren smiled. Talking to smart people is easy. He was waiting for this opportunity. If the plot doesn't change much, Loki will still carry out the next series of events. For a period of time, he will replace Odin as the interim ruler of Asgard. During this period, Luo has the right to decide most things. For example, BJAE said, reward. This was the opportunity Eren had been waiting for. I want the Casket of Ancient Winters. I will not stop you from becoming the new king, and at the same time, I will not attack my friends. Loki frowned. Eren's answer was different from what he thought. He was not satisfied with the result. It's not that he doesn't want to give Casket of Ancient Winters. If he can exchange an artifact for Eren's support, he'll be fine. However, if it is only in exchange for Eren not making a move this time, then it doesn't make much sense. During this time, Eren was the absolute man of the hour. Many auras added to the body, and the identity of the future god of magic. This allows him to make a huge impact on Asgard. Think about it, if a legendary magician publicly expressed his support for Loki becoming king, how much influence would that have? Those followers and admirers of Eren will most likely support their idol's decision. And Eren's strength is also quite strong. A strong man who can kill Laufey alone. If he can get the full support of Eren, as long as Odin does not interfere, Loki is confident that he can secure the throne. Eren, I think. Loki. Eren interrupted Loki's next words suddenly. This condition is already very good. Think about it carefully, are you really fit to be the king of Asgard? Why not? I'm a prince, one of the heirs to the throne. Loki was sensitive to the question. He felt wise enough to be king. Much more appropriate than Thor. Yeah, Eren shook his head and said, what if an enemy attacks Asgard? And the enemy is much stronger than Laufey. Asgard has the bravest soldiers. No one can take Asgard down without killing all the soldiers. Loki retorted immediately. Then what if the other party slaughters all the troops? And that enemy also possesses regenerative healing factor, knows a lot of magic, and knows everything about Asgard. This is impossible. Loki denies it without thinking. Can one man slaughter the valiant Aesir guards? Is it possible? Nothing is impossible. Eren sneered. What Asgard is facing now are all small ones, at most they can be called small bosses. The real characters will gradually appear in the future. To be honest, the Asgard people after the Fourth Avengers Alliance are not extinct, they are already considered lucky. According to that situation, it is very possible that the Earth and Asgard will be pressed to death together. Hearing this, Loki suddenly remembered the experience of Jotunheim before. If Eren does the same trick in Asgard, I'm afraid. In an instant, I was dripping with cold sweat. He suddenly felt that it seemed that Eren's request was not unacceptable. Loki still has a certain understanding of his own strength. It is more than enough to deal with ordinary people. But if he is facing someone of Laufey's level, or even stronger, there is nothing he can do. The only thing you can count on is Bifrost. But Bifrost is a dead thing. Once an accident happens, let the enemy hit Asgard and live on your own. Unrealistic. At that time, from his own point of view, Loki should consider how to get out safely. And at this time, with such a big magician sitting in the town, I can sleep more peacefully. The premise is that the magician is one of his own. So how do you make him your own? Start now. Anyway, you must not let the other party become your enemy. After figuring it out, Ji changed the preface and said with a smile, you succeeded in persuading me. Happy cooperation. For this result, Eren was not surprised at all. Let's not talk about whether Loki can get what he wants. At least for the time being, Loki has no support other than himself. After the deal was done, Loki left. He got the answer he wanted. Although Aaron didn't say who he really is, smart people never say it outright. Loki was satisfied with the transaction result, and Aaron was also satisfied. This transaction is equivalent to whoring for nothing. You don't have to snatch it yourself, and you don't have to take any risks. When the Casket of Ancient Winters is in hand, even after the matter is over, Odin has no excuse to take it back. After all, it was given by Loki when he took over the management right, so he also has legal rights. And, in this transaction, Aaron doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to pay anything, doesn't even need to say a word, just sit aside and study magic to improve his strength. It can be described as zero risk high return. Don't even offend anyone. Loki is a good guy. Aaron sighed. Anyway, with Odin at the end, what else does he care about? It's right to increase your strength with peace of mind. After Loki leaves, finally, with no one else around, Aaron also began to plan the next magic improvement plan. If nothing else, when Loki comes again, he will be able to solve the problem of his lack of magic power. Then he won't need to go back and forth between Asgard and Jotunheim to absorb magic. The energy of the Casket of Ancient Winters is enough for the current him to squander. Then, the promotion plan has to be put on the agenda again. The plot of Thor 1 has already begun, and the big event in the future is not far away. Before a bigger crisis comes, we must make adequate preparations. The strength needs to be further improved, even to the point where Odin is stronger than at his peak. This way, it's barely enough. Yes, just barely enough. Odin's strength is strong in the early and mid-term, but not enough in the late stage. And yeah, Loon is currently far behind Odin. The more you know, the clearer your perception of Odin's strength. That old man, ability is too comprehensive, and he has a lot of clumsiness. Although Aaron defeated Laufey, who was of the same generation as Odin, he didn't feel that he had the same strength as the opponent. He also spent a lot of thought on killing Laufey, and finally used a sneak attack. When can one person take Laufey and his men down together, he will be regarded as a strong man. The first is materialization magic and molecular rearrangement magic. These two magic levels are the highest, and they are also very practical. They have a good attack ability, and their potential is quite high. In the limited time, try to upgrade one or several types of magic as much as possible, so that the strength can be improved faster. The other ability levels don't need to be too high, as long as it doesn't affect the main ability upgrade, it only needs to be enough. Aaron analyzed calmly. One trick is eaten all over the world. Focusing on a certain kind of ability improvement is the most effective way to improve strength. Even if Aaron can raise all abilities to the top level, it will take a lot of time. Maybe Time Gem can solve this problem. But it's also possible not to. After all, it is not the ability to control time by itself. If you don't understand time, the price of playing with time is too high. However, the possibility of becoming invincible with a certain ability is too small. Unless this ability level is quite high, it is at least 1 or 2 levels stronger than the concept represented by the 4 draws. The 4 draws represent time, space, death and nothingness respectively. Some kind of concept stronger than these concepts. It's too difficult, not to mention that on top of the 4 draws, there are even stronger gods. Aaron is currently not sure which of the magics he has mastered can reach that level. Before time travel, there is a saying that time is respected and space is king. In Marvel, this may not be the case, but it is hard to say everything before it is promoted to that level. However, Aaron remembered that in the ability description, as long as you work hard enough, your ability will be infinitely improved. If magic elevates to concept, can concept also continue to elevate? If yes, great. When a certain concept is no longer limited to the multi-universe, but goes beyond it, reaching omnipotence, or even beyond omnipotence. Just don't be too scary. Although it's just a thought now, maybe in the future. After a while of reverie, back to reality again. In addition to these 2 magics, mind and space can be placed on the second level. An energy absorption. It's all fairly expressive magic. As for other energy explosions and invisibility, they are all considered later. Definitely, the last thing to consider is spear and fighting technique. These kinds of abilities are of little use in a world like Marvel. At different stages, the priority of learning will be different. Aaron will correct the practice ideas according to his most urgent needs. When energy is insufficient, the most important thing is energy absorption. When the energy problem is solved, it is necessary to consider its own hard power. At present, materialization magic and molecular rearrangement magic are very easy to use, and the level is also the highest, so it is naturally the first consideration. If the molecular rearrangement can be further upgraded to change the structure from a smaller level, the power will be further enhanced. Besides, if you have the opportunity, you can also learn higher level magic. The higher the magic level, the greater the improvement effect. This is the shapeshifting experience. The advanced shapeshifting technique can be upgraded to a powerful magic that changes the molecular structure. If you can get other more powerful magic, and then upgrade, what can it become? It's a pity that there are not many high-level magic in Asgard's magic. That Odin guy, he's hiding too much stuff. Eren didn't expect to be taught by Odin either. So this idea can only be shelved temporarily. Next, just wait for Loki to perform. Just when Eren was about to stay at home and wait for the harvest, Sif and the others came to the door. Bring a good news. Accompanying him was a flushed Amora. When she went out and heard the news circulating outside, she turned back immediately. You're going to be a god, Eren. Eren froze for a moment. Seeing Eren's doubts, Sif sincerely congratulated and said, we just got the news, because of your contribution in Jotunheim and your great achievements in magic. The Father of God will accept you as the new god of magic in Asgard. You have become a god. So fast. Odin so generous. Eren thought about it, and soon understood what Odin was thinking. Since the coronation ceremony, various troubles have appeared one after another, which is extremely detrimental to stability. In order to calm people's hearts, I pushed him forward. Divert the attention of others. I don't know if Odin is so old, will he use Odin's blessing again? After blessing, can I further increase my physical fitness or energy? It would be even better if I could teach some more advanced magic. Eren doubts that with Odin's current physical fitness, he might not be able to bear this kind of torture. According to the original time, Odin will live for a few years. Etc. Loki is now afraid that he is about to enter the vault. The old man will faint from heart and blood pressure. The Eye of Odin is about to begin. Forget it, let's not think about it. Eren shook his head secretly, he was too lazy to care about these crap. Anyway, just get the stuff. As for the title of God of Magic, doesn't matter. On the surface, Eren didn't show any flaws, but after chatting with a few people, he followed to the Golden Hall to attend the ceremony of being sealed. By customary custom, in every important event, it is inevitable to have fun with the people. Especially the birth of the God of Magic is the most important thing. On the way Sif and the others came, someone announced this matter. With Asgard's technological level, now the entire god realm knows that Eren will become the god of magic. On the way to Golden Hall, many people looked at this legendary magician on both sides of the road, they were very curious. Eren seldom haunts various receptions recently, and was just a member of the ordinary people before. He completed the counterattack in a short period of time, which can be regarded as a model of the rise of the common people. Now it will become the new god of magic. There are many topics to discuss. Eren doubted that if he was alone, those people would probably surround him directly. Eren, now you are completely famous, even bigger than ours. I heard that you have become the dream lover of all the girls in the all-god realm. Fandral said with a smile. Fandral, are you jealous? Eren said flatly. Forget it, who can compare with you? Fandral shook his head hastily. Fandral, don't forget that you still owe Eren a life, let alone a promise. Vostag laughed. Go away, don't say it if you can't say it. Fandral kicked Verstag, but the latter nimbly dodged it. Eat so fat and still be so flexible, you are amazing. Eren, there's one more thing we've been discussing for a long time. While the two were fighting, Sif leaned over and whispered, we suspect someone has betrayed Asgard. How to say? Eren looked over, but his heart was like a mirror. This matter is not difficult to guess. With the wisdom of Sif and others, you can guess the result if you calm down and think about it. However, they have no evidence, only suspicion. It's Loki. We suspect the Frost Titan was brought by Loki just to disrupt Thor's coronation. Later Thor went to Jotunheim, and it must have something to do with him. Now, his scheme has succeeded. Sif gritted his teeth and said, We should bring Thor back. Now you will become the god of magic, and it is up to you to explain to the priest, which may change the priest's determination. Aaron shook his head. Don't you understand? The king is preparing to temper Thor, and he will not take back his order until the tempering is completed. Training. Several people looked at each other, not expecting why Thor's exile and training could be linked together. Aaron rubbed his forehead and sighed. I just praised the wisdom of a few people, so let's take it back now. Having said all this, I still can't figure it out. But also, they prefer to use force compared to using their brains. Thor's previous performances are all in the eyes, as his friends, Sif and others don't think there is anything wrong. Moreover, Thor was about to become the new king. Logically speaking, it was impossible to sharpen at such a critical moment. In their view, the previous counter-insurgency was just tempering. As everyone knows, it's just gold plating. If it is really tempered, it is impossible for the opponent to choose such a weak one. The Flame Titan king like Muspelheim is barely qualified. Seeing that Sif and others were in doubt, Aaron did not continue to explain, and they came to Golden Hall in silence. However, when they arrived, they heard a bad news. Odin is asleep. Oops. The father of God has fallen asleep at this time, so who will be the new king? Sif and the others looked at each other, and their footsteps sped up immediately. Into the hall, on the throne that once belonged to Odin, sat a man they had just discussed, Dust. Now, with the gun of eternity in his left hand and the casket of ancient winters in his right, Loki is experiencing the charm of the throne. At the same time, I was thinking about what happened just now. He learns that he is the son of Laufey. They also know that his existence is just Odin's selfishness, and he wants to use him as a link to maintain peace between the two races. Even though he had already guessed the reason for his existence, he was still very angry. In the confrontation with Odin, the other party fell into a deep sleep due to emotional problems. Then, by accident, he ascended to the coveted throne. Life is so wonderful sometimes. Seeing people coming, especially Aaron, Loki's face froze slightly. After learning his identity, Loki also thought about whether to suspend his cooperation with Aaron. After all, the other party was the murderer who killed his real father, and his father was the murderer who killed the other party's parents. Good guy, feud. No matter how you look at it, the relationship between the two cannot be friendly. But in the end Loki dropped the idea. The reason is simple, both he and Aaron are victims. And he himself is not interested in Frost Titan's identity. He still sees himself as an Asgardian. What's more, he has become the king now. As a king, you must have the measure of a king. This is what both Odin and Frigga have said. Well, the main thing is, Aaron is a legendary magician. He also urgently needs a strong man who will not endanger his own rule to increase his weight on the throne. During his hesitation, Aaron also looked at him meaningfully. If Loki breaks the deal, he doesn't mind a trade-off. With his mastery of materialization magic, it was easy to use the casket of ancient winters to make an indistinguishable fake. At that time, I will take advantage of a certain opportunity to let the casket of ancient winters fall into a foreign land and completely solve the future troubles. However, there is no chance of a backup plan being activated. At this moment, you have come just in time. The father enters Odin's sleep, restorative and healing in sleep. Before my father wakes up, I will take over the throne. Loki looked at Aaron and said apologetically, because the father is in a deep sleep, Asgard is currently not suitable for holding a grand ceremony for our new god of magic. The blessing of Odin shall also be postponed indefinitely. But as king, I cannot chill the hearts of the heroes of Asgard. As compensation, as the new king, I intend to present the casket of ancient winters to you. With that said, Loki walked down and solemnly handed the casket of ancient winters to Aaron. At the same time, he gestured with eyes that only the two of them could understand. Aaron nodded in response. From the moment he got the casket of ancient winters, he felt energy surging all over his body. Use energy absorption subconsciously. A huge amount of energy surged towards the body along the hand. In the blink of an eye, the consumed mana is replenished. The magic problem is temporarily solved. Aaron smiled. My heart was also secretly ruthless. Mada, labor and capital will finally be able to cast spells unscrupulously in the future. Instead of thinking about which spells are suitable and how to save magic power. Have enemies? Fine, let's start with a saturation attack, as powerful as it is. Is the energy of a planet scary? No more. Then let's be unreasonable. Decompose you directly. With enough energy support from Casket of Ancient Winters, Eren can use energy absorption to constantly absorb magic power, to maximize the physicalization magic and molecular rearrangement. Think about the scene of millions of Dongfeng Express. Or the thunder that fills the entire sky. At this moment, Eren finally has enough confidence to say that he is not a kidney deficiency magician. This title should be given to Doctor Strange, he is the most suitable one. Loki also sensed the energy change and looked at Eren strangely. Could it be that he is also a descendant of Frost Titan? Besides the Frost Titan, there are other people who can wield the magic of the Casket of Ancient Winters. However, he also thought of the killings that Eren caused in Jotunheim. In any case, it didn't look like something the descendants of the Frost Titan could do, and with his magical attainments, he could already see the shapeshifting technique applied to him. Shaking his head, Loki put his doubts aside and continued, "It seems our god of magic is satisfied with this compensation. But before leaving, the Queen Mother will have a chat with you." Frigg looking for me. Eren was slightly taken aback. At this time, shouldn't Frigga stay with Odin all the time? Does she still have other things on her mind? Frigg is also a very intelligent character. If Odin hadn't influenced her mind, with Frigg's wisdom, it would be impossible to be deceived by Loki. Definitely, it may also be because of pampering. For Loki, she always felt sorry for him. With doubts in mind, Eren and Sif bid farewell to the place where Odin was sleeping. After Eren left, Sif and the others began to ask Loki to forgive Thor's crimes and let Thor come back. Although Eren told them that this is Odin's tempering of Thor, they still hope that Thor can return to Asgard and even preside over the overall situation. In their hearts, Thor is the real master of the throne. Loki was just a temporary replacement, lucky ones. And Loki, who knows a few people's thoughts and is worried that Thor's return will endanger his own rule, naturally cannot agree to their plan. But these things have nothing to do with Eren. Deep in the Golden Hall, Eren came to the place where Odin slept. I saw Frigga, who was extremely haggard, and Odin lying unconscious on the bed. "You're here, Eren, I'm sorry I can't meet you." Frigga is still sitting there looking at Odin. When she saw the Casket of Ancient Winters in Eren's hand, she looked puzzled. Eren paraphrases what Loki said. It is also a patch for Odin to wake up later. Odin really caught long sleep. The others believed it, and so did Frigg, but Eren didn't. Odin, the old yin and bai, most likely used the so-called deep sleep to advance the next plan. Even, Odin is listening to the conversation between him and Frigg at this moment. Eren thought maliciously, with Odin, it's always good to be vigilant. So it is. That kid, Loki, did the right thing and didn't disappoint. It seems most appropriate that he will take over Asgard when he arrives. Frigga smiled gratifiedly. She also approves of Loki's act of compensation. Although the reward for this compensation is a bit high, compared with Odin's blessing, it's just that. Because all Asgard people are extremely honorable. They crave victory, they crave glory. And the greatest glory is to be blessed by Odin. For this, they are even willing to sacrifice their lives. Frigga thought so too. The Casket of Ancient Winters is but an alien thing, nothing compared to Odin's blessing. But Odin is too weak. Even if he wakes up, he can't go through too many twists and turns. A small blessing may cause bigger problems in his body. I'm sorry, Eren, Odin can no longer bless you, I hope you can understand. Frigga also apologized. Eren nodded in understanding. How could he mind such a thing? It's too late to be happy. Tianhu, what do you want from me? Eren asked. Frigga glanced at Odin, his expression was full of worry. I worry about that kid Thor. Now that Odin is asleep, Asgard will be powerless to take care of his safety. So I want you to help me, to help Thor. What the hell? Is this getting me to Earth? Is it necessary? There is no need at all. Eren, who knows the plot, knows that Thor is not guilty at all. Even if something happens, Odin will be the first to wake up and save the scene. He cares a lot about Thor. Eren also said immediately. With Heimdall watching, Thor will be fine. Although with the Casket of Ancient Winters, his strength will be greatly increased, but if it is not necessary, he does not want to make such a trip for nothing. Frigga shook her head. Heimdall is really reassuring, but if Thor is really in danger, I'm afraid he won't be able to help in time. Odin sleeps, Thor loses his powers, and Asgard is now weaker than ever. And you are the strongest among us. And the most capable. Only you can protect Thor in Midgard. And, it's a good thing for you, too. Good thing. Aaron just found it troublesome. In Midgard, there is another magical organization, Kamar-Taj, which has been established for a long time and includes many magics and secrets. If you want to acquire more magical knowledge and raise to a higher level, maybe that place is very suitable for you. Frigga explained. Asgard rarely deals with Kamar-Taj. They are responsible for safeguarding the peace of the 9 realms and resisting threats from beyond the universe. And Kamar-Taj is the native power of Midgard, and also shoulders the duty of peace. The people of Asgard do not know much about Kamar-Taj. Only Odin, who has been in contact with each other a few times. But Odin did not reveal much about Kamar-Taj. And because of Kamar-Taj's existence, Asgard's eyes on Midgard are less and less. This also led to the fact that even Thor and Loki were unaware of the existence of Kamar-Taj. But Frigga knew something. Kamar-Taj is mysterious. They also possess a gemstone filled with infinite energy. Odin didn't seem to want more people to know about it, so he blocked the relevant news. It is said that this matter is related to the safety of the 9 realms and even the universe. The less people know about it, the better. Although there is little news about them, Frigg knows that there is another huge magic system that is completely different. With Aaron's magic ability, staying in Asgard will gain very little. Now that Odin is also in a deep sleep, it can be said that there are no people who are qualified to teach Aaron. Kamar-Taj. Aaron looked strange. Didn't expect that the benefit that Frigga said is this. Well, it's okay to think about it. Kamar-Taj does have a lot of magic. Almost everyone is related to dimension lords and ancient gods. They are all high-level magic. If there is a chance, it is not bad to go there to learn from the scriptures. Even so, Aaron still didn't want to go. If he wants to go to Kamar-Taj, he can go to Earth at any time with a teleportation ability up to LV5. Then look for traces of Kamar-Taj. The king of gods fell into a deep sleep, other kingdoms are eager to try, and the lost king of Flame Titan cannot guarantee that he will not have other thoughts, and now Asgard needs protection most. Aaron said righteously. This reason is very reasonable. Asgard is strong. But without Odin, Asgard no longer has a crushing advantage over other countries. Plus Thor exiled. At this time, Asgard does not have the qualifications of the 9 realms Asgardian at all. The combination of Bifrost and Heimdall is really powerful, but not foolproof. Otherwise, how did the Dark Elves successfully infiltrate Asgard through invisibility? Other Asgardians may not be aware of this problem because of their past glory. But Frigg is different, she is full of wisdom. In fact it is. Frigga doesn't mind Aaron's refusal, and she understands it very well. She knew Loki's level of magic. If he had been able to concentrate on magic in the past, maybe he would not be so worried now. But Loki, in terms of strength, it is Thor who is more suitable after all. I can understand your concerns, so I will teach you a new magic, a method to solve this problem. Astral projection. Aaron was taken aback, he was not unfamiliar with this magic at all. This time, there was an unexpected harvest, which is not bad. Not long after, Aaron was ready to say goodbye and leave. He wanted to try new magic sooner. But Frigga's last words made him leave with doubts. Aaron, although you have not been blessed by the Father of God, your name has been recognized. As the god of magic, you need your own legend. Should let more people know your god name. Legends. Names of gods. What are the 967s? Aaron doesn't pay much attention to these imaginary things. B, who pretends to be the most handsome, is often beaten the most viciously. Is it not good to keep growing? However, seeing Frigga's serious face, Aaron subconsciously felt that this matter was not low in importance. Maybe there are other meanings. What exactly is it? Maybe ask Amora. Aaron thought for a while, and decided to put the matter aside for a moment and think about magic instead. Astral projection, in simple terms, is soul astral, which separates the spiritual body from the physical body and can travel freely in various fields. This magic is not very powerful, and it is basically a must-have conventional magic in Marvel. Whether it's Kamar-Taj or Asgard, as long as you're a magician, there's nothing you can't do. Ancient One often used astral projection for interplanetary and dimensional travel. This trick was also used to knock Hulk's soul out of his body, making him lose his fighting power for a short time. For ordinary people, the soul astral does not have any fighting power, and the body loses consciousness and cannot act. At this time, the physical body is extremely weak, and astral projection can only be used when it is absolutely safe. Otherwise, the physical body is destroyed, so you can only act in the state of the soul forever. And a magician with a high level of cultivation can also use magic in the state of the soul body. Possess a certain combat effectiveness. Frigga hopes that Aaron will master astral projection as soon as possible, and guard Thor with his soul body, while his body will stay in Asgard. Even if you encounter any danger, you can return to your physical body at any time to protect the realm of the gods. For Aaron, protecting Thor is secondary. He wants to use astral projection to improve his soul combat ability. Now his strength can be said to have achieved a qualitative leap because of the existence of Casket of Ancient Winters. But the soul is still weak. If someone directly punches out his soul like Ancient One did, then he will be powerless to fight back. Therefore, astral projection must be improved. Get familiar with soul state combat as early as possible, and beware of similar situations that may arise. Out of the Golden Hall. Fu and the others are just outside the door. The door is waiting for Ya. Judging from the appearance of several people, the conversation was obviously not pleasant. It seems that Loki did not agree to your request to send Thor back. Aaron knew it well. I've known for a long time that Loki has always been jealous of Thor, jealous of his bravery and strength, and now he is lucky to be the king of Asgard, saying that the First Order cannot be contradicted by his father's last order as an excuse, and he refused. We beg. Hogun said bitterly. We can't wait any longer. It is impossible for Loki to bring Thor back. We should take the initiative to bring Thor back and take back his throne. Fandral said anxiously. Aaron, come with us. With your magical attainments, you will surely help Thor. Instead of refusing, Aaron said, I will go, but it will take some time to prepare. Then he told several people about the communication with Frigga. But after hearing that Aaron wanted to devote his energy to protecting Asgard, several people also expressed their understanding. Yes, we need people to stay in Asgard, not only to protect the safety of God's domain, but also to prevent Loki from doing some outrageous things. I don't worry about him. Then let's go to Midgard to find Thor first, and join us after you master the magic, Aaron. Sif said sincerely. No problem. Aaron nodded. He is not optimistic about how many people go to Thor. How long has Thor been to Earth? Don't talk about comprehending love and devotion. I am afraid that the current Thor has not yet recovered from the sense of gap between losing his divine power and becoming an ordinary person. A Thor who cannot lift Mjolnir is not qualified as a Thor at all. So what if the three warriors brought him back? What can an ordinary person do? After bidding farewell to a few people, Aaron began to upgrade the astral projection. The feeling of soul astral is wonderful. Light and fluffy, it can penetrate obstacles at will and float in the sky. Because in the state of the soul body, there is no need to breathe, and there is no fear of many radiations, so it can travel in different dimensions and starry sky. Aaron was not used to it at first, but after getting used to it, he was able to act freely soon. But, in this state, I can't use magic. I only have a soul, and when facing the enemy, I have no power to fight back. Aaron mused to himself. The group of magicians in Kamar-Taj, in the state of the soul, also has many means. After all, the magic power they use is from the dimension Mephisto, and it doesn't matter whether they have a physical body or not. Go ahead and upgrade. You performed an astral projection seriously, and gained a little bit, astral projection proficiency +1. You are serious. It didn't take long for the level of astral projection to be raised to LV3. Aaron found that in the state of the soul, he can also cast magic. Since I can cast magic, that is to say, I can use energy absorption to replenish magic power at any time. Then you can also put the Casket of Ancient Winters in your own space, and even the soul astral will be able to maintain most of the combat power in the physical state. In the future, the higher the level of astral projection, maybe you will be able to display 100% combat experience. etc. Using magic in the soul state can also improve proficiency. Aaron's eyes widened suddenly. In this way, you don't have to worry about not being able to continue to improve your strength during astral projection. After thinking about it, Aaron continued to improve, raising his astral projection to LV4 in one breath, and then came down. After careful perception, Aaron got a good news. Now after the soul astral, the soul body is more solidified, and the strength it can exert is further improved. Maybe it won't be long before, even with just relying on the soul body, you can fully display all abilities. And because of the increase in proficiency, my soul power is also increasing. In the Marvel world, the soul is a very mysterious energy zone. It can be seen everywhere, but few people can spy on its power. Red Skull once said that Soul Gem is the most special one among infinite gems. The price of acquisition is also the cruelest. Soul Gem can only be obtained by sacrificing the soul of the person you love the most. And the Infinity Gauntlet cannot restore the sacrificed life. This shows how special Soul Gem is. Coupled with the improvement of magic power, it can also nourish the power of the soul. According to this speed, maybe I can spy on the power of Soul Gem. It was a pleasant surprise. Aaron smiled slightly. Just when he wanted to continue to improve, there was an urgent message from Heimdall. Someone picked up Mjolnir, and that person is not Thor. What? The plot has changed. Aaron stood up suddenly. Regardless of continuing to contact magic, he walked directly outside. He must know what changes have taken place in the plot. Maybe, time to see the world. Earth, New Mexico. Near a small desert town. This is not a satellite crash at all. Otherwise, they would have hauled away the wreckage. Instead of building facilities around like a siege. They lied to us. They lied to the people. Jane Foster looked at the temporary camp in the distance with a telescope, wondering. But beside her, Thor didn't listen to her. Looking at the hammer that was faintly visible in the temporary camp, his face was full of excitement. That's Mjolnir, my favorite. You wait here, and when I get Mjolnir back, I'll give you back what they took away. After speaking, Thor moved forward without looking back. Wait, there are too many of them, do you think you can break in and get it back? Then after you got it, you walked out swaggeringly. Jane stopped. No, I will fly back. Thor waved his hand and said proudly. Like that, Thor turned his head in doubt, and looked in the direction Jane pointed. Distant sky. A figure stood straight in the air, approaching in this direction at an extremely fast speed. Through the binoculars, it can be seen that the person is wearing a strange helmet and looks a little old. But this does not affect his attitude full of dominant aura in the slightest. He hugged his hands, his body was straight, like a god in the sky, overlooking the earth. Jane was stunned. Some of you Midgard people can fly. As far as I remember, you are still holding some scrap metal, and even your own territory needs our protection. Thor froze too. What era are you talking about? I don't know if you are really stupid or really God. Jane shook her head helplessly, trying to ask, are you really Thor? That's right. Thor nodded proudly. But why do I think he is more of a god? Jane pointed to the person in the sky and said, that's because I haven't got my hammer back. When I regain my strength, I can hang that guy in the sky with one hand. Thor said unconvinced. Jane obviously didn't believe Thor's words, and said again, you said, did he also come here for your, meow hammer? Thor waved his hand and said, it doesn't matter, no one can lift Mjolnir except me, it's just another self-defeating person. Thinking of the rumors in the town recently, Jane nodded, maybe it is true. It is said that an old man drove a truck without pulling the hammer away. It can be seen how heavy the strange hammer is. But is this guy really Thor? Isn't that a fairy tale that children only read? Could it be a big fool? And in a temporary camp, everyone looked at the figure flying from a distance, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Magneto. Why is he here? Phil Coulson looked at the people on the screen and felt extremely tricky. Have you worked out the composition of the hammer? We may be running out of time. No, sir. The Research Institute said, with our current technology, it is impossible to study the composition and structure of the hammer. We don't know why it is so heavy, but it didn't cause the ground to collapse. I suspect that this hammer is not a product of Earth's technology. Hearing this, Phil Coulson glanced at the hammer unwillingly. In this operation, they did not expect any other changes. Not to mention that Magneto, one of the mutant leaders, would come in person. The X-Men who can fight against him did not contact him in advance. Immediately pack up all the research data and evacuate temporarily. After Phil Coulson gave the order, he immediately got into a nearby car and reported to the top. Sir, I think we need backup, Magneto is here. SHIELD agents act fast. Not long after the order was given, the researchers then evacuated under the protection of armed personnel. But Magneto is faster. Before they were fully evacuated, they had already arrived above the temporary camp. Looking at the agents waiting below, Eric showed disdain. In front of everyone, the whole person fell slowly. Next second, countless fire snakes flew towards him. However, all the bullets stopped 1 meter in front of him, as if there was an invisible wall ahead. Eric raised his hand, and the bullets all changed direction, flying towards the place where they flew, and flew at a faster speed. Ah! There were screams from the temporary camp. After doing all this, Eric's expression did not change at all, and he walked leisurely in the aisle. Looking at the temporary facilities that obscured his sight, he frowned slightly. Only to see the next moment. As far as the field of vision is concerned, countless steel frames are deformed and collapsed under the influence of some mysterious force. Mjolnir in the middle is exposed. Is this the suspected extraterrestrial object in the news? Seeing the target, Eric walked in step by step, ignoring the fearful eyes of the people around him, put his hand on the handle, and pushed hard. Stand still. Eric didn't believe in evil, and tried harder, but still couldn't lift it up. Interesting. Let me see, what secrets are you hiding? Eric lost his temper. He came this time just to see this thing that cannot be moved by any means. It is said that it landed with an extraterrestrial meteorite. Maybe it has something to do with the gods. Under the influence of some mysterious force, it takes root in the earth. Originally, he just wanted to see what this thing that was suspected to be related to the gods was. But I didn't expect this thing to attract so many people's attention. Eric has dealt with many people and knows about the existence of SHIELD. The owner of this temporary camp is SHIELD, a huge organization that spans the globe and specializes in dealing with super ability incidents. And his old opponent and friend Professor X has also been linked to this organization. It's quite a surprise. But, do you really think I can't afford you? Just a little metal hammer. Eric opened his hand, manipulated the invisible magnetic force, and exerted it on Mjolnir. Subsequently, the hammer moves. Thor on the side is still asserting that no one can lift Mjolnir. Seeing this scene at first glance, he was instantly dumbfounded. Ignoring Jane, the whole person rushed out and shouted, "Let go of my meow hammer." In ruins, Thor ignored Magneto Wong Cheng's strong sense of oppression and charged at him. This scene shocked everyone. The power of Magneto is obvious to all. The weapons in their hands are completely ineffective against them. The opponent can control all metal objects. In this steel city, he can be called a god. No, he is stronger than a god. Gods are just illusory legends. But Magneto, the terrifying mutant that really exists. Lock him, and know all his information. There is also the meow meow hammer. Search the internet for information on similar words. I need to know what that weird hammer is. Seeing Thor appear, Phil Coulson immediately instructs someone to retrieve the database. He subconsciously believed that this person was not a mortal. After all, would a single mortal dare challenge Magneto? Eric was also attracted by Thor's cry. He glanced at the other party, then retracted his gaze. While controlling Mjolnir to move to the front of the body, he held his right hand empty, but found that Mjolnir was still unable to be picked up. So he looked at Thor again. "Who are you? You say this is your meow hammer. What is that?" "I am Thor, son of Odin, mightiest warrior of Asgard, Thor of the thunder. This is mine, Mjolnir. Give it back to me immediately, or you will meet the wrath of the gods." Thor rushed up to him, haughty and scornful, step by step approaching, wanting to take away Mjolnir. Thor, Odin, Mjolnir. Eric raised his head, "As if you were teasing me," and couldn't hide his anger. "Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? How dare you use myths to prevaricate me? Okay, you said this is your hammer, then you pick it up, otherwise, I will let you know what the wrath of God is." Eric has always believed that mutant is the perfect evolution of human beings and a glorious road to God. The powerful and almost invincible power gave him the idea that he is a god. Now I hear a person who doesn't know what is good or bad, looks at him like an ant, and even dares to threaten him. It's just life and death. Eric puts the hammer in front of Thor, beckoning him to get it. He has already decided that if the other party can't hold the hammer, he will have a god killing. You will see what is the real god. Thor walked over confidently and came to Mjolnir. Suddenly, the sky, which had been clear just now, suddenly darkened. A trace of thunder began to entwine in the clouds. This vision made Eric a little uncertain. Could it be that the other party is really Thor? Although others could not hear the conversation between the two clearly. But seeing Eric's angry appearance, and Thor's extremely confident, fearless expression, he knew that something might have changed. In the sound of thunder, Thor put his hand on the handle, gave Magneto a defiant look, and fired hard. The air is quiet, and then, Eric's cloudy eyes gradually became angry. Wait a minute, I was separated from it for a while, maybe it is a little strange, shy. It will know who I am right away. No matter how nervous Thor is at this time, he still feels something is wrong. Did the royal father cast some kind of curse when he left Mjolnir? Gritting his teeth, Thor tried again. Mjolnir remained motionless. Very well, then go to hell. Liar full of lies. Eric stretched out his hand and drew countless steel bars, like a sharp arrow, as if he was going to shoot Thor into quill in the next second. Thor ignored Magneto's movements. He knelt down on his knees in despair, staring at the sky speechlessly. Just then, the sky suddenly descended with the light of Bifrost. Father, it is the Father who has come. He has not abandoned me. Thor saw light in his eyes. Could it be that he is really a god? Eric was also startled at this moment. The movement of the hands stopped, lest the legendary king of God Odin would pop out to find him for tea in the next second. Sir, the energy index is soaring wildly, we can't detect the specific value. Phil Coulson frowned when he heard the news reported by his subordinates. What kind of day is it today? Why are there so many unplanned things happening? Did you find the source? No, the source of the energy beam has exceeded the distance that our satellites can detect, and we are unable to analyze the energy composition. It's simply impossible for humans to do. Phil Coulson heard the words, no longer sighed. Almost numb. What we are dealing with today is indeed too unusual. However, to Thor's disappointment, it was not Odin who emerged from the teleportation beam, but Sif and the three warriors. Although disappointed, Thor is still happy. The people who came were all his friends. Thor, we are here. Sif and the three warriors saw Thor and ran over to say hello. But seeing countless steel bar, sharp arrows, ready to be fired, his expression immediately became vigilant. Is he an enemy? Thor, after approaching, several people took out their weapons and stood in front of Thor, their sharp eyes swept over Magneto. As long as there is any movement from the opponent, they will launch a killing blow towards the opponent's fatal point. He lifted my Mjolnir, no, not lifting, but with the help of some special ability. Thor carefully recalled the previous situation. Due to lack of understanding, he was not sure what method the other party used. But he can't get the recognition of Mjolnir, and he can't get the power in it. But I can't get its recognition. After a moment of silence, Thor summoned up his spirits again. By the way, where is my father? Has he decided to withdraw his will to expel me? Father, he's asleep. It's Loki who controls Asgard now, and he doesn't want to take back his orders, Sif explained. Thor couldn't believe it. Why? What happened to the father? Why won't my brother let me go back? He's jealous of you, because that throne belongs to you. How come? Thor clenches his fists. Why has so much happened in the short time he's been away? On the other hand, Vostag waved his battle axe and warned Magneto, people of Midgard, return Thor's hammer, or you will not be able to bear the consequences. Eric, who was regarded as an invisible person by several people, felt more and more angry in his heart. These people in front of me are too arrogant. Talking to his face. The lofty meaning in the words. Eric couldn't be more clear. Because he is the same when facing ordinary people. But with the help of some unknown technology, he deceived his vision and came here. Do you feel like you are really a god? Good acting, but Odin fell into a deep sleep. Is this to explain to me why the dignified king of God doesn't come in person? Gods. Snort. Your eyes and tone of voice annoy me. After the words fell, Eric controlled the sharp arrow and shot towards Vostag. Vorstag quickly swung his tomahawk to block. But there were too many steel bars, and many of them bypassed his defensive line and hit his body. But that little damage can't hurt Ulu metal at all. Even if some hit his exposed body, they couldn't break his defense. People of Midgard, is this your method? All your attacks are ineffective before the gods. Fandir also stepped forward to help, not forgetting to mock the wind. A mutant of the physical strengthening type. If you have some means, then try this. Eric mistakenly thought that several of them were mutants. Although he didn't like to attack the same kind, if the same kind disrespected him and hindered his actions, he would not show mercy. More and more steel bars gathered under his control, like plasticine, blended together, and turned into a huge amounts of spear. Attack several people at a speed much faster than before. Protect Thor. Sif immediately raised the shield and stood at the forefront. Several others stood in front of Thor to resist other sharp arrows. Seeing that Magneto's offensive is getting stronger and stronger, Thor can't help but come to a conclusion. This Midgard man is quite powerful, maybe he is the most powerful man in Midgard. But compared to me who picked up the hammer, it's worse. At this time, he still didn't forget to ask, where's Aaron? Why didn't he come? With him here, this guy can be easily dealt with. Aaron is coming soon, and he needs to be distracted and alert to Loki to prevent other countries from taking the opportunity to rebel. Fandral explained. Just as the two of them were talking, Eric's attack finally fell. Huge amounts of spears are integrated from an unknown amount of metal, and their weight is already astonishing. Accelerated by magnetic force and gravity, the power is extremely terrifying. Even if it was as powerful as Sif, it couldn't resist it completely, and was pushed back again and again by the powerful force, forming a gully on the ground. Then he was knocked away by his attack. Just when the spear got closer, the energy shield appears automatically. This means that this attack is already enough to pose a threat to the three warriors. The body defenses of ordinary Asgardians are between ordinary bullets and high-caliber bullets. The defensive strength of the three warriors is not much stronger than that of ordinary Asgardians. Under Eric's violent attack, if he was really hit on the exposed part, he would definitely be injured. But the appearance of the energy shield put an end to this situation. The amazingly powerful spear, after hitting the shield, can no longer move forward. What is this again? Eric frowned. The strength of this group of people is not good, but their methods are rather strange. Armor with amazing defense, plus the energy-based protective shield that appears now. Mutant, or aliens, is it really a god? What a joke. Eric doesn't believe in God. If there is a god, why didn't he appear when Mutant was persecuted? When those executioners captured his compatriots for research, where was the god? He doesn't believe in God. If there is a god in this world, it is him. It's game over. I don't care if you are mutants or aliens from beyond the sky. In front of me, you are all but ants. Admit it. At this moment, Sif and the others suddenly found themselves out of control. No, it's the armor that's out of control. The armor that was supposed to protect them from attack is actually restricting their actions at this moment. What a strange ability. Midgard people, what have you done to our armor? Sif is strict, rebuked, and at the same time trying to disarm the armor. But a certain mysterious force prevented her from further action. More and more metal gathered to block the opening, making it impossible for them to remove the armor. Even if they used all their strength, they didn't have the ability to break it open. After all, the energy shield is not real intelligence, it is just a means of stress. If the attack does not threaten the wearer, no resistance occurs. Moreover, Magneto's ability invisible is quality-less and does not cause harm to the human body, which happens to be the defensive weakness of the LV5 energy shield. I am the leader of the mutants, Magneto. Eric flew in the air, looked down at several people, and said in the same high tone, your mutant ability is very good, but it is still vulnerable to me. I can give you a choice to live, follow me. Join me and become the master of the new world. You dream, people of Midgard. Thor is not afraid, his eyes are full of anger, as the invincible Thor, he has never suffered such humiliation. To be humiliated by a Midgard man, and to try to make himself a subject of the other party. I am the son of Odin, no one can make me surrender. You will pay dearly for what you do. Oh, Eric smiled lightly. What a weak god. Vulnerable. You. With a few words from Eric, several people were blown up. A mere Midgard man actually mocked them. They are the most valiant warriors in Asgard. Even those titans dare not treat them with such contempt. Hateful. When I get back the hammer, I must make you look good. Thor swears secretly. He must double this humiliation to the other party. Phil Coulson, who is here in the distance, is not surprised to see the current situation. Magneto is society's #1 terrorist. His extremely weird energy made every high-level leader a headache. The most peak technology of mankind was perfectly restrained by the opponent. As a result, they had to try other methods to contain the other party. It would be strange for such a powerful terrorist to lose. Sir, those suspected aliens have been subdued by Magneto. Phil Coulson said into the headset. I've already contacted the professors. The X-Men are coming. It's better to hold Magneto so that he can't take our stuff. I'll try. Phil Coulson rubbed his forehead with a headache. Hold on. Hold on to what? Trying to hold Magneto down without preparation is wishful thinking. This is completely impossible task. Even if it takes human life to delay, there must be enough cannon fodder. While Phil Coulson was trying to figure out how to hold Magneto down, the familiar golden light came again. Again, who is this time? Everyone is attracted by the golden light. Thor and Sif looked at each other with happy faces. It must be Aaron coming. Aaron, who is he? Forget it. No matter who he is, there will be no change in the end. God. Hey, Eric sneered. He doesn't mind having a good time with these people. Let them know who is the most powerful mutant. Who deserves their allegiance more. He is the most powerful magician in God's domain. He is the god of magic affirmed by the king of God. He put down the rebellion of the Vanir Protoss. Laufey, the leader of the Titans as strong as ice, also died in his hands with hatred. Sif told Aaron's great achievements in detail, and said, People of Midgard, the glory of the Aesir Protoss, you cannot trample on it. You will pay for your stupidity. I am looking forward. This time, Eric didn't panic. For the first time, he didn't believe in the so-called god of magic. It's just a fairy tale for 3-year-olds. Perhaps the Odin in the other party's mouth deserves his attention. Maybe that's a decent mutant too. Definitely, he still believes that he is the most powerful one. Only his old enemy can threaten him. At the moment, the person who stepped out of the golden light was none other than Aaron. He saw Thor who was bound, and Magneto not far from them. For a moment, I didn't know what to say, so I could only sigh silently. This world is so chaotic. I don't know if there are other surprises in this world. Oh, I hope there will be no more. I know the plot, so it's probably useless. Aaron approached Thor and the others without changing his expression. Raise your hand. The ice blue magic came to Thor and others first. In Magneto's constricted pupils, all metal is transformed with ice blue energy. What? I can't control it. Could it be that the energy just now directly transformed the metal into another substance? You're here at last, Aaron. I knew you would come. After releasing the restraint, Thor smiled and said. Aaron lazily said, You can still laugh. You have been beaten into such a state. If people in God's realm find out, I don't know how they will discuss the invincible Big Prince Thor. Thor's smile froze, and he leaned closer and whispered, You know this, I know they know it, it's better not to tell anyone else. Do you think you can hide it? Aaron glanced at him helplessly and said, Why do you think I came down? It's because they have people from Midgard who picked up Mjolnir. I'm afraid Heimdall has already reported your news to the Queen of Heaven by now. And, you think so many people present are blind? Wake up. Thor glanced around, his expression suddenly paled. I had no choice but to ruthlessly say, This was an accident. When I pick up the Meow Meow hammer, I will definitely beat him so hard that he can't even recognize him. I promise. Maybe. Aaron secretly compared the strength of Thor and Magneto, not sure. In a way, Magneto overpowers Thor. Especially Hammer God was completely defeated. Perhaps Thor can only try to suppress Magneto at close range by relying on his physical fitness that does not lose to Hulk. You are doubting my strength. Thor was keenly aware of the hesitation in Aaron's tone, and said excitedly, I will prove it to you, I am still the invincible Thor. Didn't you say you were going to use astral projection to come to Midgard? How does it look like you came down in person? At this time, Sif saw Aaron's physical state, which had a sense of physicality, but it was obviously not a spiritual body. I think so too, but in your situation just now. Aaron shrugged helplessly. On the one hand, time is running out, and on the other hand, the plot has changed. Just in case, Aaron had no choice but to come down in a full state to ensure that he has sufficient strength to deal with the possible butterfly effect. Oh no, the butterfly effect should not be said now. The emergence of Magneto cannot be explained by the butterfly effect at all. Vostag and the others covered the back of their heads in embarrassment and laughed without saying a word. They really didn't expect that the Midgard people who were once weak enough to need Asgard's protection, unexpectedly appeared strong. Without the slightest preparation, the weird ability that seemed to be able to manipulate metal caught them off guard. If I knew this earlier, I shouldn't be fighting with the opponent wearing a battle armor. Believe that you will be able to win the opponent. Have you said enough? Today's young people are more arrogant than one. Seeing Aaron ignoring himself like the previous few, Eric couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. What a hell of a day. One or two dare to ignore me. It seems that what I did before was not cruel enough. Young man, that's right, I am a young man, Aaron said without blushing. According to the lifespan of the Asgard people, he is now converted to the age of the earth, and he is only 20 years old, which fully meets the definition of young people, which is very reasonable. 1,000-year-old young man. Aaron, I didn't expect you to become more and more shameless. Xavier rolled her eyes and complained. In front of Thor, I am indeed a young man, Aaron said seriously. The corners of Thor's eyes twitched slightly. Boy, does this reflect that I'm a 1,500-year-old thing. Obviously I am in my prime. You are courting death. Eric is angry. These guys were talking nonsense in front of him. What Asgard, and what is Thor Odin, the god of magic, who is still saying that he has lived for thousands of years? Blatantly laughing at yourself. Under anger, all the scattered metal around was once again manipulated by Eric. Like 1,000 arrows fired, several people came rushing. Sif and the others quickly surrounded Thor again, raising their weapons one after another, trying to resist the coming attack. But Aaron didn't see his hands, and the huge ice blue magic power spread around. In a very short time, the space of tens of meters of Fang Yuan was filled. In the spotlight, after all the attacks entered this space, they quickly disintegrated at an astonishing speed, turning into granular substances and scattering. Aaron's magic is stronger again. Is this new magic? I haven't heard of it yet, said Thor curiously. I don't know, it should be the magic taught by Tiano, right? But I haven't seen Tiano and Loki use it before. Sif also didn't know. Before Aaron learned magic, she paid very little attention to magic. Hey, can't you find that Aaron's magic power has changed color? It was golden before, but now it has become ice blue. Fandral pointed to the magic power space that changed color. Seeing this, several other people nodded one after another. This feeling is so familiar, it gives me the feeling of facing a Hydra Titan, and Thor is lost in thought. Casket of ancient winters. When the others heard the words, they suddenly realized. Aaron nodded in acknowledgement. Although he can convert a lot of energy absorption into his own energy, the main body of the magic color is still based on the energy absorbed by the main body. Naturally, it became the same color as Casket of ancient winters. It's like this again. Eric's pupils shrank suddenly. What variant is this ability? Change the material structure. No, that's not it. Eric found that if he further strengthened his control, he could still control the granular matter. Although that would take more effort. That is to say, the other party breaks down the gathered metal into finer substances. No, still not right. It should also integrate other components, so that the metal components are no longer pure, which increases the difficulty of manipulation again. Variant ability is nice, but, if that's all you're doing, it's over. Eric knows what to do. At the same time as he was speaking, those scattered particles showed signs of being controlled again. Seeing this scene, Aaron is not surprised. After all, his molecular rearrangement can only be manipulated at the molecular level. It is impossible to really change the nature of atoms. And Magneto's variant ability can even control the iron element in the human body, aggregate it and knead it into any shape. There is a gap between the two in the subtlety of material manipulation. Unless the molecular rearrangement is further improved, it will be difficult to destroy Magneto's control ability by molecular rearrangement alone. Definitely, it's not impossible to beat Magneto. Molecular rearrangement can work on the human body. Unless the person or thing being enchanted has strong magic resistance or terrifying energy, they can only die with hatred. Obviously, Magneto is not included. He's just a genetically mutated mutant. Even if it can manipulate magnetism, its original resistance to magic is no different from that of ordinary people. Aaron tried to control the magic power to rush towards Magneto. Magneto sensed the abnormality and quickly flew into the air far away to launch an attack remotely. The so-called gods are nothing more than that, Eric said proudly. Hearing Magneto say that, Aaron almost laughed out loud. Isn't it bullying and bullying Thor, who is not awakening and has no divine power, and Nozomi and others? Is it so easy to divide God? Although he has been recognized by Odin as the god of magic, Aaron has not changed his mind until now. He still thinks that he is in the human category. At most he can be regarded as a magician with some extraordinary power. Compared with the real God, there is still a gap. Moreover, gods are also divided into 3, 6, and 5 classes. A weak god is no different from an ant in front of a powerful god. If you don't talk about God, just talk about Aaron himself. It's not difficult to deal with Magneto. You are really confident in your own strength. It's a pity. You still don't know anything about the true power of God. Aaron also took to the sky. Unlike Magneto, who uses magnetic force to manipulate the metal disc flight, Aaron uses psychokinesis to go straight up from the void, facing it across the air. Another mutant ability. Could it be a derivative ability of some kind of ability? Or in other words, a secondary mutation has been carried out. Eric immediately became alert. Ordinary mutant, only one variant ability can appear after awakening. For some special ones, a derivative ability of this ability will be developed. But there are also lucky ones who can mutate again, such as White Queen, who has diamondization and telepathy. This kind of mutants generally have decent power. Yes, you are very capable. I am very optimistic about you. Looking at your ability, I will give you another chance to join the mutant family, fight for a new future, and become the king of the world. Eric spread out his hands, trying to show his strength. However, in the face of Eric's solicitation, several people, including Aaron, all looked at him as stupid. They are the masters of the 9 realms. Why should they let go of the glory of God, run to fight with a Midgard person, and then struggle slowly, just to be one of the management of a country? Your eyes, I hate it. Eric frowned. Are all people in Midgard so arrogant? Looks more stupid than the dumbest titan. Thor said, whispered. Aaron glanced at him silently. In terms of ego, Thor said second. Who would dare to say first? Magneto is just a little less knowledgeable and narrower, and you are simply lacking in your brain. Eric took a deep breath. He was going crazy. Shut up, you idiot, liar, megalomaniac. Eric tilted his anger on Thor, and he hated Thor the most among the people present. This seemingly strong man dared to pretend that he had no strength, even pretended to be more arrogant than himself, and he was so arrogant. Eric wanted to get rid of Thor first. In his team, no trash is needed. Thor blinked in bewilderment. Is it me? Fandral nodded. It's you, that's right. Thor, Magneto, don't be distracted, let me play with you. Aaron said casually. For him, Magneto is really just for fun. The reason is simple. Magneto does not have magic. In front of the magician, it is no different from a doll. Eric turned his head, and was shocked to find that there were also countless weapons of different shapes around Aaron. It just appeared out of nowhere, without warning. What just happened? What a weird mutant ability. Eric is not just a pure militant, in fact he has quite high scientific attainments. But with his knowledge, he still couldn't analyze Aaron's ability from this fight. Too much, too complicated. And it's powerful. Although he didn't face the ice blue energy directly, he knew that once he was enveloped by it, he would be disintegrated like a steel bar. Now showing the ability of other principles. At this time, Eric suddenly felt that maybe the other party might really be a magician. Only the rumored magician who possesses inconceivable magic can explain it. Magician. No, it should just be mutant. Eric still didn't want to believe that Aaron was the god of magic. If the other party is a god, isn't what other people say is also true? Thor is the son of Odin. Thor. Eric glanced at Thor, who was dumbfounded, and immediately threw this idea out of his mind. This guy can be Thor, so it's not difficult to become a god king, right? Quote. Don't you like to play this trick? Then I will repay him in the same way. Aaron didn't give Eric much time to think. Endless phantom creations appeared out of nowhere from behind him, and under the control of his thoughts, they all rushed towards Magneto. Just like the golden glitter in a certain anime. It's just that Aaron's weapons are all weapons of his own random illusions, and there is no mysterious power in them. The only thing there is quantity, endless quantity. This is the joy of unlimited energy. Cool. Eric naturally didn't know Aaron's happiness. Seeing the other party's triumphant smile, he was very upset. Another wave, originally aimed at Thor's sharp arrow, turned the direction, and Aaron started to stand an output. He wants the other party to know how powerful he is. Bang bang bang. The sound of crisp impact can be heard endlessly. At the same time, there was a series of explosions. In Eric's unexpected eyes, the weapon made by Aaron can actually explode. The most troublesome thing is that the thing made by the other party is not metal. He couldn't control it the other way around. So the confrontation didn't last long, and Eric had to dodge an embarrassment. At the same time, he manipulated the remaining metal shield to protect his body and resist Aaron's attack with difficulty. Eric snorted secretly. If it wasn't for the lack of metal at the battle site, how could he be in such a mess? If he was in the city, he would let the other party know why he was so popular. That's not enough. I haven't played enough. Aaron was rather bored. Magneto's ability is actually very strong, but too single. It can't be the top in magnetic force. If it can be further developed, it will not be easy for Aaron to win. But now Magneto can only use magnetic force to manipulate metal, which may be more than enough for other people, but for Aaron, it's really not enough. Even without the infinite blue buff provided by Casket of Ancient Winters, he can play the opponent to death. Eric didn't speak harshly this time. He also needs face. The current form is wrong, and it will be embarrassing to speak harshly. I'm not in the right shape today, let's fight again next time. Eric was scared and wanted to run away. Although mutant doesn't have the so-called blue bar, Lily Jout, they still need to consume physical and mental energy to release their abilities. Even if he is good at manipulating metal, but frequently manipulating so many things consumes a lot of mental energy. Coupled with Aaron's appearance that he can't see the limit at all, Eric thinks it's better to take a step first. Wait for the status to recover and study the opponent's ability before killing back. Moreover, he thinks that he did not deserve to lose. After all, before fighting Aaron, he also fought against 5 people, and exhaustion is inevitable. Want to run? Did I agree? Aaron frowned, but still saw no other movements. But Eric found that the metal plate under his feet was crumbling, and an inexplicable force suddenly pulled him down, trying to get out of his control and prevent him from flying away. Impossible, you will also control metal. Eric was shocked. In a way, yes. Aaron nodded. Psychokinesis control is also considered control, but it cannot be as nuanced as Magneto. Don't be complacent, my control over metal is not that simple. Eric concentrated on fighting for control of the metal disc, and if he delayed, he would not be able to escape. Just when he was about to completely regain control, he was about to say something, but found that the sky has become different. Eric looked up in confusion, only to see a transparent high wall appearing around him at some point. Together with the sky, be covered together. This scene fell in the eyes of others, causing a stormy sea. Although they've been following the battle, they've never seen anything like it. Just now, a cloak wrapped around Magneto. It seemed to be a kind of energy, and then quickly transformed into a substance at an astonishing speed. And so a diamond-like wall appeared, enclosing Magneto in it. No matter how hard Magneto tries, he can't break the diamond cage, because there is so little metal he can use. At this time, Aaron landed slowly, stepping on the outer top floor of the diamond wall, just like Eric breaking into the temporary camp, even more chic than it. How do you feel now? Scene people. Eric didn't understand why it was called that. But without thinking about it, he knew that the other party was mocking him. Without answering, continued to try to use the only metals to attack the diamond wall. Thor ran over at this moment, looked up and shouted, "Aaron, well done." Then he shouted to the imprisoned Magneto, little thief who took advantage of others, now you know what the power of the gods is. When I pick up the hammer, I'll make you suffer. However, in the face of Thor's speech, Eric completely ignored it. Still trying to do my own thing. Don't bother, he can't hear you. Aaron jumped from a height of more than 10 meters and landed perfectly. At this height, with his physical fitness, he doesn't even need to use magic. In order to prevent him from escaping, I specially created an ultra-thick diamond wall, which will not be affected by his magnetic control. Magnetic force control. No wonder he can control our armor and countless metals. It turns out that his ability can control magnetic force. Sif and the others suddenly realized. Magnetic power control. The god of magnetic power. He is also a god. He actually mastered the power of magnetic power. Thor glances at Magneto in surprise. In his impression, a strong man who can control a certain power is considered a god. However, Midgard also has gods. No, it looks like he's just a special human being with a genetic mutation, in order to gain some incredible powers. But its essence is still human. Aaron explained it casually without going into details. His current identity is from Asgard, and he is not like Heimdall who is always watching. The more he talks about at the moment, the more exposed he is. Thor nodded half understanding. Although he, as a prince, has received more resources, but Thor's character, will he learn those things seriously? Such as gene mutation, it is only limited to the point where you can know what it means. The changes in Midgard are not small. There is such a strong person. Maybe we should pay more attention to this place to prevent some accidents. Hogan suggested. Yes, this man named Magneto can actually control Uru metal, which can be said to be a fatal threat to our soldiers. Put it in the 9 great nations, and it can definitely be called a strong one. Sif, who has been confronted head-on, has a great say. They are the absolute elites of Asgard, but they still struggled with Magneto, and even almost died because they didn't understand. Midgard, we must focus on it. What is he going to do with it? You decide for yourself. At this time Aaron knocked on the diamond wall and said casually. Kill him. If you dare to blaspheme the majesty of the gods, you must die. Vostag suggested. I agree, when we came, he was still ready to attack Thor. Even if he didn't kill him, he must be brought back to Asgard, by the Father of God. When Hogan said this, he suddenly remembered that Odin had fallen asleep, and now Loki was in charge, so he said instead, let's kill it. Thor, what do you think? Aaron doesn't care about Magneto's life, it's just a 4th level mutant left and right, it doesn't matter. If it wasn't for the fact that the other party was an acquaintance in his previous life, he would have been ruined casually. Leave him, I will teach him a lesson myself. Thor has no hesitation. In his opinion, if he killed Magneto now, his humiliation would be irreparable. Every time someone mentions today's experience in the future, it will be a kind of harm. Aaron shrugged casually. The purpose of his coming down is to see what changes have taken place in the plot, and to increase his understanding of the world. Saving Thor is easy. He doesn't care whether Soldier can defeat Magneto by himself in the future. Anyway, it wouldn't be like today, which almost killed him. Nothing should happen in the end. Aaron believed that if something happened to Thor, Odin would be resurrected immediately and come to the rescue. Maybe this time it also ruins the chances of Thor's return. The other side. Sir, things have changed again, Phil Coulson reports honestly. Could it be that aliens are coming again? A speechless voice came from the phone. No, Magneto lost. The aliens that came out this time are weird. His ability is a little too much. Our people can't analyze their energy composition. The data analysis results show that it is beyond our scientific and technological cognition. Phil Coulson took the data analysis submitted by his subordinates, and there was a series of 2 words on it, unknown. Meanwhile, SHIELD headquarters, Magneto loses. Where are they now? Hearing the new situation reported by Phil Coulson, Nick Fury looked a little surprised. As the leader of the Hawks, Magneto, whose ability is beyond doubt, has long been on the main list of SHIELD, and even topped the list. He is a great threat to social stability. Had it not been for the help of the dovish Charles, perhaps he would have used his last hole card long ago. Nick Fury subconsciously touched the communicator in his pocket, his expression constantly changing. Someone beat Magneto. Is he an enemy, or a friend? Phil Coulson glanced at the few people who were talking, and immediately explained the situation of at the moment. Magneto trapped in a diamond cage that suddenly appeared. That guy can finally be honest for a while. Nick Fury said to himself. When he heard that the strong man who claimed to be Thor seemed to be discussing with others how to deal with Magneto, he suddenly had some small thoughts in his heart. Do you want to test the opponent's details? There were still some wounded at the scene, and the opponent did not kill him, which meant that they were not so brutal. There is a certain possibility of contact. But in view of the strong strength of the other party and the identity of unknown origin, this thing can't let us come. After thinking about it, Nick Fury turned his attention to Charles. This kind of thing that may be dangerous to a certain extent will naturally be handed over to other people. It's not worth killing some elite shield for this kind of thing. He once thought about recruiting Mutant from Mutant Academy, but in the face of Charles who was playing Tai Chi, this plan did not succeed. Charles is an extremely dangerous mutant leader. Even if he behaves very kindly and is close to ordinary people, Nick Fury, who always thinks of things as bad, dare not take it lightly. The files about Charles in S.H.I.E.L.D. are even listed as extremely dangerous, one notch higher than Magneto. After all, no one is willing to accept the existence of a mutant who can kill himself silently across several states. Unless it is absolutely necessary, Nick Fury will not choose to approach each other. He is afraid of the opponent's mutant ability. As S.H.I.E.L.D. director, there are too many secrets in his brain. If leaked, it will pose a huge threat to the country and mankind. So, he made a phone call. Hey, put Charles in touch for me. Almost at the same time. It is also in the office on the top floor of the Trident building. This is the office of Alexander Pierce, former S.H.I.E.L.D. director and current Security Council president. But he also has another identity, the leader of one of the Hydra factions. Pierce is watching Nick Fury all the time. After hearing that a new object had appeared in New Mexico, they sent someone to follow up. And right next to Phil Coulson. Not long after Nick Fury got the information, he also got the other information. A group of suspected aliens appeared in that place of no shit, and they even defeated the mighty Magneto. Pierce knocked on the table unconsciously, wondering whether this matter would have a negative impact on HYDRA's plan. They are currently holding a plan. If the plan is successful, they can get rid of dangerous people for Hydra who may hinder the great goal of global unification, including the group of self-righteous mutants. But now, there is an unplanned situation. In addition to the Earthlings, does Hydra even have to face aliens? No, you must not be so passive. I need to take countermeasures in advance. Any character who is not in the plan may pose a threat. Pierce thought for a while, and made a phone call to his subordinates. After chatting for a few words, they came to the window. Looking down at the city below. He likes this feeling very much, as if he controls the whole world. Soon, Hydra is about to become the master of the world. Whether it is a mutant, some monsters, or aliens, nothing can stop the rise of Hydra. Now, regarding the outcome of Magneto's disposal, no results have yet been issued. The main question still lies in whether to bring them back to Asgard and imprison them or stay on Earth. Sif and others tend to capture Asgard back. Only under their noses can they rest assured. But Thor vehemently disagrees. He didn't want too many people to know about it. Especially the people of God's domain. Midgard doesn't care. As for God's domain, he will inform Heimdall when he returns and ask him to keep it a secret. But if Magneto is brought back, once asked, wouldn't it be a direct death? I'm afraid that all the after-dinner conversations in Asgard will be taken care of by him. Thor, who takes his reputation very seriously, doesn't want that to happen. And Aaron, while they were still discussing, quietly controlled the brains of the survivors in the temporary camp, and learned the news about this world. The power of the soul is high as LV5 makes him invade the mind effortlessly like a dimensionality reduction blow when facing ordinary agents. Oh, good luck, the first one is Hydra agent. Aaron raised his eyelids slightly, and suddenly became interested. He still knows the name of the Snake Shield Bureau. At this time, I found a random agent, and I won the lottery. But soon, Aaron frowned. It's an agent after all, it's really useless to know such a little thing. Even information about Hydra is close to zero. Without getting the information he wanted, Aaron shifted his gaze and probed other people's brains. Huh, another Hydra agent. Good guy, this is a snake den. Aaron smacked his lips in high spirits. While several people in Thor are still discussing, he is invading the brain one by one to see how many people are Hydra. As expected of the Snake Shield Bureau, more than half of the living people are spies. Whether it is a field agent or a scientific researcher, there is Hydra. The huge organization may have already become someone else's shape. If you work harder, maybe you can surpass the winery and incubate children for the old king next door. After exploring randomly, Aaron greatly satisfied his curiosity. Shield, Snake, Shield Bureau, as expected, there is me and you and you and me, it is an inseparable symbiosis. Still, Aaron didn't want to do anything. He is not a nosy dog, why catch mice if he has nothing to do? Under Thor's unanimous insistence, still succumbed to Sif et al. But the problem came again, they could not stay in person to take care of each other. So, who is the most suitable Magneto? Several people looked at Aaron. Aaron refused without thinking. Look what I'm doing. I caught him for you, and you still want me to take care of you. Get out of here. Aaron, you are the god of magic, just make a duplication out, it's fine, I'll make the decision when I get back, I'll treat you to a good meal. Thor also knew that he was to blame for this, but he couldn't help it, no one knew how long Odin's curse would last. One day he can't take Mjolnir, he can't be Thor one day. You're dreaming. Aaron glanced at him. At this time, a figure suddenly walked out of the temporary camp. Regardless of the injury on his foot, he said sincerely to several people, guests from beyond the sky, why don't you give Eric to us to guard? Eric, that's him. Sif glanced around, doubting, just you. Can you see it? After Eric and Aaron's battles, the situation of the temporary camp was terrible. It's hard to believe that the opponent has the ability to guard Magneto. The power of the mind. Who are you? Aaron looked at the person in front of him, raised his eyebrows, and asked knowingly. He can already be sure that the person who controls this body is definitely Charles. Now the Earth, maybe only he has this level of spiritual power. Aaron wanted to test the strength of the opponent's mental ability. But after thinking about it, I gave up again. Although he has never fully used LV5's spiritual power, he can be sure that he can't do it as easily as the other party. Definitely, he's not intimidated by the other either. If the other party dares to try to investigate him, he doesn't mind obliterating the other party. However, Charles is also a smart person. In the face of an outsider, with unknown origin and powerful power, he will not use his heart at will like other people. Inspiration. Aaron never believed that Charles really didn't look at other people's memories as he said. Voyeurism is also addictive. It's just that when Charles peeked at other people's memories, the other party didn't know it. Thinking of this, Aaron exuded the power of his mind, enveloping several people. As long as there is a movement, he will immediately fight back. The man wanted to answer Sif's question, but when he heard Aaron speak, he immediately looked over, his expression full of surprise. At the same time, there is a trace of rejoicing in my heart. Mysterious extraterrestrial visitor, please allow me to introduce myself. I am the founder of the mutant school, Charles Xavier, an old man who longs for the harmonious coexistence of humans and mutants. Magneto Eric was my friend once, but because of some misunderstandings, he took another path. I apologize for offending everyone this time. Since you don't have the energy to watch over him, I'll do you a little favor. Please rest assured, I will build a special prison to guard him alone, and I will never let him out. Despite meeting for the first time, Charles does have an affinity. His sincere tone and eyes made it easy for people to believe his words. But Thor and Sif still have doubts. Turning to look at Aaron. They wanted to hear Aaron's ideas. Although they didn't say it, they knew in their hearts that Aaron was the most flexible among them in terms of brain. And it's different from Loki's cleverness and habit of calculating people. Aaron is a trustworthy companion. So unconsciously, when encountering uncertain problems, I want to ask Aaron for advice. After pondering for a moment, Aaron said, my magic tells me that he is half trustworthy in this matter. Any questions? As soon as they heard that they could only trust half, Sif and the others immediately became vigilant. It seemed like if Aaron said something unreliable, they were ready to strike. He does want to imprison Magneto, but he doesn't have the experience. When I was with Wan Shou just now, I discovered that the helmet can shield the power of the mind. Once he puts on the helmet, there's nothing you can do about him. Aaron looked at Charles and said, "To be honest, Aaron is very interested in Magneto's helmet. During the battle, he had carefully studied the material of his helmet. With the support of molecular rearrangement magic, it is very easy to copy the same helmet. Aaron is already thinking about going back and trying to make two out. Definitely, the appearance needs to be changed, the Magneto one is so ugly." Chapter 71. Whether it was before or after the restart, Magneto's helmet failed in Aaron's opinion. Although compared with practicality, it doesn't matter if it is ugly or ugly. But since it can be changed to look better, Aaron doesn't mind changing it. Definitely, what he wants to change is not like Loki or Odin, who always feel weird with long horns. Eric didn't know that his aesthetics was questioned by Aaron. Eric didn't take it seriously when he saw the alien chatting with someone. He was more worried about his impending fate. But after looking at the stranger carefully, he, who was very familiar with Charles, recognized him immediately. No need to listen, just look, he can know that it is his old enemy, the two are too familiar with each other. Eric slapped the diamond wall vigorously, as if he wanted to say something, but his voice could not be heard, and he could only watch the other party talking. And outside, after hearing Aaron say that the other party may not have the strength to guard Magneto, Sif and the others immediately believed it. They also believe in Aaron's magic and wisdom, because the other's magic has saved their lives several times. His name is Aaron, the greatest magician of our Asgard, the current god of magic. Fan Derjang explained first. Charles's expression remained unchanged, but the news about Asgard flashed back in his mind. Odin, Thor, Heimdall. A group of people who call themselves gods. I don't know if it's a real god or a mutant. Charles didn't see the battle between Magneto and Aaron. He only used the power of his mind to cross several states and possess the brain of a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. after receiving a call from Nick Fury and hearing about Magneto's defeat. At first, he thought about whether to enter the other person's brain to check for something he wanted, but just as he was thinking this way, a warning came from his brain. Now it seems that someone on the other side also has the power of telepathy. Once he has a cold and checks the brain of the other party, he will definitely be hit madly. In his doubts, Charles didn't mean to question at all, as if acquiescing to the other party's self-proclaimed name, he said in a kind tone, "This magician's problem does exist, but I am not alone, I have many students. They are all qualified fighters, have gone through a lot of training, and each has superhuman strength. And we will unite with the nation to take care of Magneto and make sure he doesn't escape again. At least he can't escape until I take Mjolnir," Thor added. "Definitely," Charles said decisively. "Aaron, since they can unite with the kingdom of Midgard, maybe they really have the strength to guard Magneto, why don't we just do that?" Sif asked. Thor also said, "Midgard has undergone tremendous changes compared to before, and it should still have some strength to be able to control the country of Midgard." Aaron thought for a while, he would not stay anyway, not even a duplication. "My students are here," Charles said suddenly. Aaron also perceived the approaching fighter planes in the distant sky. He glanced at Charles unexpectedly, and the power of the other party's mind was unexpected. "I still need to improve further." Not long, a fighter plane shaped like a blackbird landed under the watchful eyes of several people. Due to the reminder from Charles, several people did not act excessively. Sif and the others showed curiosity, they really wanted to see how powerful the warrior Charles was talking about. In their memory, the mightiest warriors of Midgard were no match for the untrained civilians of Asgard. But the emergence of Magneto broke this inherent concept. Today's Midgard has become different. Aaron is also very curious about the arrival of X-Men, he wants to know what stage it is now. Although the known plot completely collapsed the moment Magneto held up Mjolnir, some intelligence can also be analyzed through personnel. Mutant is still very potential, powerful mutant, and even has the strength to threaten Asgard. Especially the one with the Phoenix Force. Once awakening, Aaron felt that his current self had to avoid the edge for the time being. "Trust me, you will recognize their strength. We definitely have the power to watch over Magneto," Charles said with a smile. After a while, the fighter plane landed vertically. Several figures stepped out one after another and came behind Charles. "Professor," Several people greeted Charles first, and then looked at the alien in the intelligence. According to the fighter plane's fastest speed not exceeding Mach 3, the X-Men will arrive at the fastest in half an hour. But because they were originally on the way to chase Magneto, they were able to reach the battlefield at such a fast speed after being informed of the specific location by Charles. During this period of time, I also learned some news about the battlefield through an intermediary. But their information is outdated. From what they've been told, the Outer Worlds has been defeated by Magneto. But the current situation is that Magneto was defeated by the opponent and locked in a suspected diamond cage. Tisk, if it's really a diamond, how much is it worth? Some people are curious about the authenticity of the diamond cage, while others are secretly observing Aaron and the others. They also saw aliens for the first time, who seemed no different from the people on Earth. But I heard that the other party also has a special ability similar to mutant. This is where they get the most attention. Maybe like them, the other party also has something similar to the X gene. Now, Aaron was scanning a few acquaintances. Phoenix, Storm Orlo, Cyclops Scott, and Wolverine Logan. What stage is this at? Aaron frowned. The current situation made him a little confused about the timeline. Since Magneto is jumping outside, it means that he is in the middle and late stages of X-Men 2, or X-Men 1 period. But when he saw the people in front of him, it was different from what he remembered. Could it be that Magneto just got out of prison and went to New Testes? And then go to jail again? If so, it is indeed a sad story. However, if Magneto appears at this moment, something will happen to Charles and Phoenix. The former was captured by Defense Minister Stryker, who planned to use the brainwave strengthening device to kill mutants all over the world. The latter should have died in the Arkari Lake Dam at this moment, and will soon return as Dark Phoenix. But from the current point of view, the at-the-moment situation does not match any time point in memory. Wrong. The mutant world only has pure mutants, but the universe of at the moment is not pure mutants, but also has strengthening people, aliens, and even gods. With S.H.I.E.L.D. here, mutants' situation might be better. The timeline can only be used as a reference. This thought must be corrected as soon as possible. Beware of more unexpected enemies appearing. Aaron shook his head, his gaze finally resting on Chin Gray. His expression suddenly became serious. This kind of look, even Thor and others who are often in contact with Aaron have never seen it. Dude, don't you guys have lessons on etiquette? On Earth, it's rude to stare at a lady. Facing Aaron's gaze, Chin Gray only frowned slightly, but Scott, who had been chasing her, stepped forward half a step to block Aaron's sight, and said in an unhappy tone. Wolverine also stood up and stood side by side with Scott. Although you are annoying, I have the same opinion as you on this matter. Charles frowned. His thinking was completely different from Scott's. Chin Gray is a very special existence. Unlike other mutants, her mutations are rooted in her subconscious mind. In addition to being a telepathy mutant, there is another power in her body that can destroy everything. This kind of power made Jean the only 5th-level mutant that Charles had ever met. Her potential is unlimited, but also very dangerous. Even Charles himself felt a heartfelt weight for that power. Aaron didn't look at other people, but looked at her. Did he find something? I take back what I said earlier. Ignoring the almost hostile gazes of Scott and Wolverine, Aaron turned to look at Charles. You have the strength to guard Magneto, and even kill him easily. Hearing this, Charles knew very well that the other party had discovered something in Chin's subconscious. A wry smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The X-Men were shocked by what Aaron said. Kill Magneto. Appreciate them so much. They never thought they could kill Magneto, one of the strongest mutants. The two sides have fought against each other many times, and that kind of crushing power makes them only rely on the professor to compete with it. Thor and the others were also taken aback. Being able to make Aaron say this shows that the opponent is very strong. At least, much stronger than Sif and the 3 warriors. Although Sif and the others didn't admit defeat, thinking that they lost because they didn't know the enemy's report, they also knew that even if they analyzed the Magneto ability in advance, they would definitely not be able to, easily, defeat the opponent. At this time, Aaron said again, however, you don't seem to know what you did. I know very well. Charles took up the topic. I discovered this power when she was young. I created a mental barrier that can isolate her ability and consciousness and prevent her power from growing violently. However, she produced another personality, a terrifying dark personality. Seeing that he could no longer hide it, Charles could only tell the truth about the secret vault. He looked at Chen Gray and said apologetically, "I'm sorry for my behavior." Chen Gray looked at her hands in confusion. During this time, she would feel some unknown changes in her body from time to time. But she didn't know the exact reason. "I just thought it was a further enhancement of the mutant gene. It's not without a front row." But now hearing what Charles said, Chin didn't expect that there was something in her body that she couldn't control. A sleeping dark personality. "Sorry, I'm afraid that doesn't solve the problem." Aaron laughed and said, "A bird yearning for freedom is imprisoned mercilessly by you in a cage. However, this bird is not a canary, but a phoenix. Guess what awaits the world when she escapes from the cage?" Before they could answer, Aaron said, "It's destruction. All will come to naught." "What? You're talking nonsense. How could Jean destroy the world?" Scott scowled. Aaron is still. Ignoring Scott's questioning, he looked at Jean. At this time, Chin also looked at Aaron in confusion. A red light seemed to flash in his eyes. But this ray of light disappeared in a flash, and even Chin Gray himself was hardly aware of his own condition. Only Aaron, who had been watching him, was pretty sure what had just happened. Quietly, Phoenix Force is waking up. Phoenix Force, once awakening, perhaps only Ancient One and Odin can fight against it. After all, it is only one of countless fragments. Even if the potential is strong, it will not be invincible. I just don't know, if I get a part of Phoenix Force, can I continue to strengthen it through the ability of God's rewards? Aaron originally wanted to see if there was a chance of getting a little Phoenix Force, preferably an unconscious one. But after thinking about it later, the Phoenix Force originally had consciousness, and even the hosts were chosen by themselves. Even with the Phoenix Force, Aaron gave up this tempting idea when he thought that he might have an uncontrollable consciousness. Anyway, his ability can be improved infinitely, there is no need to risk losing himself to plan Phoenix Force. He doesn't think he has Dr. Banner's halo. Even if consciousness is born in his body, he can finally coexist peacefully. Even so, Dr. Banner has lost the joy of being a man. Although there is a saying that there is no woman in the heart, and the natural God draws the sword. But he felt that it would be better not to become a monk. He spent 20 years in his previous life, ahem. This time, the main reason why Aaron proposed the existence of Dark Phoenix was to worry about the butterfly effect. When they met just now, he discovered that Dark Phoenix was already eroding Chin's consciousness. Judging from the current situation, Dark Phoenix must wake up. But in the end, it's hard to say whether Charles and others can deal with it personally. Because the plot takes a different path. Maybe this universe is a universe destroyed by Dark Phoenix. He cannot leave his fate in the hands of others. Now make it clear in advance to prevent people like Charles from inadvertently doing things that detonate the bomb early. For example, there was another incident after the Lake Arkari Dam broke. As long as Chin Gray's consciousness is still awake, and he doesn't allocate too much energy and strength to fight against the crisis of death, then Dark Phoenix will not appear for the time being. As long as Aaron is given enough time to develop, even if Dark Phoenix wakes up, it will be fine. Professor, he's lying, isn't he? The X-Men all looked at Charles, only to find that the latter remained silent with a solemn expression. This kind of action is undoubtedly acknowledging what Aaron said. Once the imprisoned Phoenix leaves the cage, it will become a more terrifying disaster than Magneto. Aaron, are you kidding me? She's going to destroy Midgard. Thor leaned closer and whispered. You can think bigger and think bigger. Aaron patted Thor on the shoulder and said. Mind zoom. Thor wondered. Sif was shocked. You mean, she can even affect the safety of the 9 realms? No, a few people have not breathed a sigh of relief, but Aaron said, she continues to grow, if she is not guided correctly, it is enough to destroy the galaxy. You're not kidding, are you? She's going to destroy the galaxy. Thor didn't believe it. I see her like that, as long as I pick up Mjolnir, I can definitely take her down easily. You, Aaron said mercilessly this time. Don't think about it, even if she just woke up, you can't deal with her. I run thunder. Thor protested. She is a symbol of life and affection. Is she also a god? Thor is dumbfounded. Then what should we do? Midgard has such a ticking time bomb, Sif said seriously. No, Aaron stopped her from saying the rest. Killing Jean doesn't solve anything, it just makes the bomb go off prematurely. Charles didn't know what he was thinking, and raised his head and said, "Since you say you are gods, does that mean that you have a solution to Chin's problem?" "Cannot." Aaron shook his head. "Currently we don't have the ability to solve her problem. The only thing we can do is to provide a relatively peaceful environment to prevent her from being stimulated by the outside world and causing her to suffer prematurely. That power awakens." Quote, "A peaceful environment, we can do that too. Professor, we can let Jean stay at school in the future, as long as she doesn't take part in the action, she won't be stimulated." Orlo suggested. Charles didn't answer. Is mutant school safe? On the face of it, it is. But in fact, there are crises all over the place. From Nick Fury, he got some bad news for mutant. A bad one, it may trigger the war between mutants and ordinary people again. Chin Gray, it's not safe mountain. Aaron's meaning was obvious. To avoid the appearance of another personality, Chin Gray must be sent to a place of absolute peace and no crisis. But Mutant Academy clearly failed. Where else would it fit? He couldn't think of a suitable place on Earth. Because there are crises everywhere. The conflict between mutant and ordinary people is intensifying. Even if he tries his best to maintain and change this result, he has no confidence in allowing the two to coexist peacefully. Unless, the piano is sent to a place other than the Earth. For example, the so-called domain of the gods. Charles's eyes flashed, and he looked at Aaron and the others, full of suspicion. To be honest, he didn't actually believe that the other party was a so-called god. What if the other party was just using the guise of a god to lure Chin Gray away? Use that destructive force inside her to do something irreversible. Charles understands human nature very well. Once someone knows the power contained in the Chin body, they will definitely try to control it at any cost. This is also something he never mentioned about Chin. That's too dangerous. Aaron, why don't we take her to Asgard and use Asgard's technology to see if we can find a solution? After the Father of God wakes up, I can also ask him how to suppress this force. I believe that with the magnificent power of the Father of God, there is definitely a way. Sif couldn't help but suggest. In her conception, the Father of God Odin is omnipotent. Once you know Chin's matter, you can definitely solve it. No, Jean can't go with you. Scott and Logan said in unison, then they looked at each other and snorted. Scott continued. You say you are gods from Asgard, but who knows if you are telling the truth? If an alien, mutant, who came from nowhere at any time, handed over the piano to you, wouldn't it be a sheep in the mouth of a tiger? People of Midgard, the glory of Asgard, 093, is not something you can question. Fandral drew his sword and warned. Anyone who dares to question Asgard will end up like that old man, go in and stay. Scott wanted to say something more, but Charles raised his hand to stop him. He knew in his heart that no matter whether Aaron and others were the legendary gods or not, they were not something they could provoke. Magneto is a lesson from the past. Magneto with the helmet on, even they dare not take it down. But now he is locked in a diamond cage by the other party, there is nothing he can do. Please forgive me, Chin's matter is very important. If we can't confirm the authenticity of Asgard, I'm afraid we won't be able to bring Chin back to Asgard. She is very dangerous. It endangers the safety of the 9 realms. Whether you agree or not, it is safest to bring her to God's domain. There are the bravest warriors in the 9 realms, the greatest magician, the most powerful father of God, and the most advanced defense technology. No one can sneak under the all-seeing gaze of the Patronus. Thinking of the Frost Titan incident before, Sif lacked confidence, and said instead, no one can break into Asgard without permission and leave safely. Thor added, you said a little less, there is still the invincible Thor. Sif glared at him angrily. Even so, Charles is still unmoved, he has doubts. Aaron knew their worries, but he can't let the other party probe his own soul. Just as the other party doubted their true identities, he also doubted the other party's character. Heimdall is watching here, asking him to take Charles on a tour of God's domain. Aaron made a compromise suggestion. Heimdall's all-seeing eye can share vision and hearing. Moreover, with the power of Charles's mind, it is impossible to probe Heimdall's memory across an unknown distance of galaxies. This method is undoubtedly the best way to solve the problem. Good idea. Sif and others agreed. When they see the magnificence of Asgard, they will naturally know that God's domain is not comparable to Midgard. Then it's decided. Heimdall. Bifrost. Heimdall has heard the call. In fact, before and after Aaron's descent, he has been following developments. Although he is skeptical of the Midgard people who are enough to threaten the safety of the 9 realms in Aaron's mouth. But this kind of thing can't be joked. Even if there is only a 1% probability, it must be taken seriously. Therefore, he communicated with Charles in his heart, and then shared the all-seeing eye, leading him to travel to the majestic and magnificent hometown of the gods, Asgard. Charles's field of vision began to change rapidly. From the earth, I came to a strange country all of a sudden. This place is resplendent and magnificent, here is mysterious and incomparable, here there are landscapes and technologies that only exist in the imagination of people on Earth, and there are also mysteries that are difficult for mutants to achieve. And at this time, a convoy came from afar. There was even an Apache gunship escort. In the suspicious eyes of everyone, they came to the scene. Is this one of yours too? Thor asked. No, they seem to be from S.H.I.E.L.D. and an army. Seeing that Chin hadn't recovered from her own problems, Orlo explained. S.H.I.E.L.D. is a special agency in this country, and we have a lot of cooperation with us on some things. This operation was also reported to them, and their chief notified them to find you. The specific links are handed over by the professor and the other party, and we don't know much about S.H.I.E.L.D. The masters of Midgard don't know how powerful their warriors are. Thor rubbed his fists excitedly. Even though he has lost his divine power, his warlike heart has not diminished in the slightest. After seeing the powerful side of mutant, he felt that the strength of Midgard people was good. After all, even a strong man like Magneto has not become the king of Midgard. Does that mean that the upper echelons are more powerful? So much so that Thor has great expectations at the moment. Looking at Thor's anticipation for some reason, Aaron looked strange. Are the United States fighters strong? Maybe, but for Asgard, vulnerable. Thor is afraid to be disappointed. The caravan came before the crowd. A middle-aged man with a big belly, surrounded by a group of soldiers with guns, came in front of everyone. A black-clothed agent beside him took out his ID card and said to Mutant, "We are S.H.I.E.L.D. Now everything here is taken over by us, and we have nothing to do with you." After finishing all this, the middle-aged man looked at Aaron and the others, thought of the order from above, and said with a smirk, "Guests from beyond the sky, thank you for helping us catch the #1 terrorist, Magneto. Magneto has launched terrorist attacks many times, and this time he wants to steal items that belong to us. It was hard to catch him this time, and we sincerely hope that he can be handed over to us for custody." "Sir, they've decided to hand over Magneto to us," Glow said aside. "Shut up, dirty mutant, it's none of your business here," the middle-aged man shouted loudly. "Who are you talking about?" Logan, who was already furious because of Chin's matter, directly showed his sharp claws and glared at the man. "Mutant, do you want to challenge Milliken?" The middle-aged man was obviously taken aback, but he quickly recovered and said viciously. The soldiers behind him unanimously raised their M16s and aimed at Logan and the others. Seeing this, Orlo immediately stopped Logan from running away. Charles is still unknown at present. With their current ability, there is no way to fight against a group of fully equipped soldiers of the United States. Moreover, the Apache helicopter gunship in the sky vaguely aimed its weapon at this side. As long as they make any move, they will be struck by thunder. S.H.I.E.L.D. is going back on its word. Didn't it say that we will settle this matter? Now send a group of people to pick peaches. Scott put his hands on his glasses and said defensively. "They're not S.H.I.E.L.D. people," Orlo said firmly. And Aaron smiled meaningfully. The Snake and S.H.I.E.L.D. Bureau took action so quickly, exactly the same as he imagined Hydra's acting style. Pierce is still smart. Except for 1 or 2 Snake S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, the manpower dispatched this time is from nearby troops. Even if the final plan fails, it will not arouse Nick Fury too much suspicion. Because he can push the problem to the military, or even the United Nations. Seeing that Mutant was finally honest, the middle-aged man looked at Aaron and the others with a smile. "What should we do, Aaron?" Sif frowned, somewhat bewildered. "Hey, stop, that's my meow hammer," Thor suddenly yelled. Several people looked over, and some people later actually surrounded Mjolnir, because they had the meaning of taking possession of it. What do you mean? Sif demanded. The middle-aged man smiled and said, the location of this thing is within the territory of Milesian, so it is Milesian's property. He's mine, he's Asgard. Thor raged. But none of you can actually pick it up with your hands, can you? The middle-aged man has a well-thought-out plan, and he obviously put in a lot of effort before coming here. At least not without looking at the intel on Phil Coulson's side. Are you ready to force yourself? Fandral and the others walked up to Thor, and they didn't allow anyone to catch Asgard's attention. No, I'm just stating a fact. If you can't hold it up, then it's ours. The middle-aged man didn't seem to have much fear at all. Before they came, they found that Mutant had no conflict with the other party, which meant that the other party was a civilized person who could speak, reason. It's nothing more than a little more powerful. Coupled with the mysterious hammer, they are quite interested. That's why Pierce keeps the hammers and Magneto as long as possible. Hydra loves to collect these mysteries. They're also quite interested in Charles's powerful variant, ability. For their ultimate plan, Hydra is also researching mutant genes in private, and secretly providing funds for research by Stryker and other institutions. They want to create their own Hydra mutant team. Even if he can't make his own mutant, he must find a way to solve the mutant. Even, as long as it is an institution related to mutant research, it has planted spies inside to ensure that the research data can be obtained at any time. In HYDRA's view, any extraordinary existence is one of the threats that affect their plans, and if they cannot be brainwashed, they must be crushed to death. Among them are Aaron and others. The middle-aged man didn't know that while he was talking, Aaron had probed his brain and learned all about the plan of action. After learning about their plan, Aaron was immediately bored. It's just a group of cannon fodder sent by the superiors. Aaron, Fandral and the others looked over, and everyone's eyes were full of anger. What are you waiting for? Someone has already taken over us. Could it be that you are still reasoning with the other party? Aaron finished speaking, the first to move people. Reasoning with Hydra. Are you bored? Is he that kind of person? Knowing what organization the other party is, how can Aaron have the time to play with them? Fandral and the others immediately sharpened their knives and threw them at each other. Wait, I think this matter can still be discussed. The middle-aged man backed away in horror. This shit didn't follow the routine. To be reasonable, shouldn't we talk about it again? What the hell is it that they were smiling and chatting together the last moment, but turning their faces in the next second? However, the three warriors, who had long been displeased with the other party's politician face, obviously did not want to listen to the other party's reasoning. Call attention to Asgard. If you don't die, who will die? Do you really think Asgard is the kind of sheep that can be slaughtered? Seeing the three warriors attacking, Thor also looked eager to try. However, Sif pinched Thor's shoulder with one hand, and he was completely sealed by Odin's divine power and physical strength, and he couldn't get rid of it at all. You can't, Sif, I'm a brave warrior. Thor said excitedly. That was before. Sif was now troubled by Thor's belligerence. She didn't think it before, because of Thor's powerful strength. As long as they don't do things too much for his wife, they will take it for granted. But now, Thor has become an ordinary person, still charging as savagely as before. Isn't this courting death? And with Aaron around, there's no need for Thor to do anything at this moment. He made a move, which could only make the clear situation worse. At the moment, before the middle-aged man could make a move, the soldiers he brought began to set fire. But their bullets fell on the three warriors, and they couldn't pose a threat at all. An energy shield rose automatically, blocking all attacks. Even the ground-to-ground missiles carried by the armed helicopters cannot break through the protection of the three people. The 30mm chain cannon also lost its due effect. You can't do this. Behind me is the United Nations. You are declaring war on all mankind again. The middle-aged man kept yelling as he stepped back. Seeing that the opponent ignored him completely, he looked at Mutant who was watching the battle, and said in a bad tone, "Aren't you making a move yet? Are you planning to betray all mankind?" Charles was still admiring the beauty of Asgard. And Chin's mind is no longer suitable for conducting, unable to think calmly. As for Scott and Logan, they are worried about the fact that Chin may follow each other, but they also have no good colors for the military with a bad attitude. All that was left was the calm Orlo as the temporary captain. After thinking briefly and noticing Aaron's inadvertent gaze, Orlo chose to ignore the general's words. It is a fact that those who call themselves gods or not, defeated Magneto. She would not risk her own life to save a group of idiots who wanted to die. Without mutants shot, the three warriors defeated the approaching army almost effortlessly. The rest of the soldiers wanted to get in the car and escape, but Aaron, who had been on guard for a long time, released a few magic beams casually, turning them and the armored car into a sea of flames. And the armed helicopters were also doomed. At the same time, when it was learned that a group of military personnel had clashed with aliens, and a big war broke out, Nick Fury looked as expected. As S.H.I.E.L.D. director, he has to deal with that group of politicians almost every day, so he naturally knows how stupid and greedy those people are, and he also knows how domineering those fools in the military are. Behavior without scruples. Even when faced with reasonable requests from S.H.I.E.L.D., they usually ignore them. Just like the previous experimental accident, it was because a general of the military insisted on going his own way and refused S.H.I.E.L.D. to intervene, which caused a green-skinned titan to make a lot of noise in the city center. The final result is still nothing. This time, he had obviously asked Mutant to contact the other party on his behalf, but in the end, they intervened again. I'm afraid it will be difficult to get in touch with that group of mysterious extraterrestrial visitors. Any news? Who gave the order? Nick Fury asked on the phone. It's a direct order from the Security Council. Nick Fury frowned. How does this matter have anything to do with that group of people? Years of agent experience told him that there must be something wrong. Pierce, what are you doing? Nick Fury called Alexander Pierce directly. Even though the other party is the previous S.H.I.E.L.D. director, the current Security Council president, and the mentor who promoted him to the top position, he is still worthy of the other party in terms of S.H.I.E.L.D. Fury, what are you talking about? Pierce asked knowingly. New Mexico, Hammer. Nick Fury, who knew the nature of politicians early on, reminded emphatically, according to the division of responsibilities, we should be responsible for such supernatural events. Why do you let the military intervene? Fury, this kind of thing should indeed be started by S.H.I.E.L.D., but what did you do? You let a group of mutants who don't know the details contact each other first. Do you know what other council members are talking about after they know? They're even beginning to doubt your position. You should be very clear that Mutant and we are not of the same mind. They think they are the evolution of human beings, and they should even dominate human society. Especially before, the series of terrorist attacks by Magneto brought huge hidden dangers and troubles to social security. Everyone can't bear to have a group of mutants replace us to contact aliens, especially those taxpayers outside. Once you let them know what you have done, the prestige of the government will be questioned. Alexander Pierce said earnestly that he knew Nick Fury very well, and thought that the other party's words and deeds were under his control. Professor X has communicated with us many times, and they need S.H.I.E.L.D. Let them contact each other, which can reduce our casualties. Nick Fury did not doubt what Pierce said. The main body of this operation is the military. Knowing the temperament of those guys, he can understand the reason for doing so. However, according to intelligence, besides the military, there are 2 agents from the Shinbi Bureau this time. Before the action, unexpectedly did not report to him, S.H.I.E.L.D. director. This is intolerable to him. Suspicious character, even made him doubt the strength of his own control. In S.H.I.E.L.D., there are people from other forces that he cannot control. Fury, I can understand your thoughts and actions, but I am not alone in the International Security Council. You know who they are, and they are quite critical of us being responsible for supernatural events. I'll explain it to them for you, but next time better not do something stupid like this. At least, I have to let people from S.H.I.E.L.D. be the main body, so I can keep their mouths shut. Pierce said with the same tone, but his expression was meaningful. As long as there are people from S.H.I.E.L.D., he is confident that he will learn all the information that happened at that time at the first time. Instead of the unconnected X-Men acting like this time. Even if something happened at that time, his eyes would be darkened, and he would not be able to react in time according to the news. Understood. Nick Fury replied unwillingly. He was not satisfied with this answer. If it weren't for the Security Council's interference, how could there be conflicts with the other side? As a result, after all, it became my own problem. Is it also a problem to reduce the necessary sacrifices and pensions for the taxpayers and the country? He wasn't worried that Charles would hide anything from him. Because the other side needs S.H.I.E.L.D., needs him. Things are not looking good for Mutant at the moment. Recently, there have been more and more voices of high-level dissatisfaction with them, and many neutral people have begun to lean to the other side. The only one who can support Mutant politically and has that strength is S.H.I.E.L.D. Charles knew very well that if S.H.I.E.L.D. was offended, Mutant's situation would be even more serious. Hope there's good news from Charles. Fury, that group of aliens doesn't seem to be friendly. The negotiating team we sent all lost contact. The Security Council is very dissatisfied with this performance. I can help you hold it over there, but you need to come up with a plan as soon as possible, and a detailed incident report, otherwise I worry that they will take more aggressive actions. After speaking, Pierce hung up the phone and lay down leisurely. Fury, you're still too young. So what if you took that seat? Wasn't it being manipulated by me at will? I am your teacher after all. The other end, more aggressive behavior. Are you planning to use nuclear weapons? Nick Fury subconsciously clenched the phone, making a burst of overwhelmed sounds. The depression in my heart can be imagined. He needs to clean up the things that he has done. A bunch of bloody idiots. Orlo and others witnessed the military's negotiation team being completely wiped out by Aaron and others. Heart awe-inspiring. They really didn't expect that these so-called Asgardians would actually start killing at the slightest disagreement. And there is no one left. Aren't you afraid of causing a war between the two sides? Orlo reminded kindly. If you do this, it may cause their overreaction. I'm afraid they won't let it go. Aaron shook his head with a chuckle. And Sif and the three warriors looked at each other and smiled. Thor even said unceremoniously, "People of Midgard, Asgard is the lord of the 9 realms. We are not afraid of any challenge or war. Whether it is the tyrannical Frost Titan, the Flame Titan living in the Demon Kingdom, or the Dark Elves who control the darkness, they are all defeated by us. You can't imagine how strong Asgard is, Nobita. When we controlled the 9 realms, Midgard was still in a backward and ignorant age, and could only pray to us for help. If your country wants to go to war with us, we will accept it. Trust me, the end of the war is unbearable for you. You'd better pass this on to the people behind you. I hope they don't have too much courage in this kind of thing, because it's pointless." Cut. Who can't brag? Wolverine Logan muttered in a low voice. Anyway, he didn't believe in the so-called gods. Even though he doesn't have much affection for this society and this country, it still makes him uncomfortable to hear Thor's undisguised belittling words. Orlo and Scott also frowned. This is really a bit contemptuous of people. While several people were talking, on the hillside in the distance, Jane is still looking down with a telescope. She's been here since Thor went down. By the way, ask the assistant Daisy to look up information about Asgard myths. The other party passed on Mjolnir and related myths. After watching it again, Jane begins to believe Thor's words. However, she was puzzled that Thor looked exactly like the Thor in mythology. In mythology, Thor is invincible and a very brave warrior. But this Thor looks so conceited and so weak that he can't even lift his own hammer. Later, she also called Dr. Eric and informed him about her and Thor's actions. And in the back, when she saw the 3 warriors descending with Sif, and then Aaron descending, she was dumbfounded. Her 3 views were severely impacted. So much so that I forgot that I was still talking to Eric. Now, she is an even more careful observer, not daring to go out at all. For fear of suffering an indiscriminate disaster. However, no matter how careful she is, she can't hide it from everyone. Suddenly, she found that the last man who descended to Earth turned his head and looked at her, his whole body tensed. Breathing is almost frozen at this moment. Thor, is that person over there a friend of yours? I noticed she's been watching this side for a long time. At this time Aaron pointed to Jane Foster on the hillside in the distance. Hearing what Aaron said, Thor slapped his head, almost forgot. She was the first person I met when I came to Midgard. I remember she was an astronomer. Oops. Thor looked around, and saw that the temporary camp had been completely destroyed in many battles, and said with a headache, I said I would return her information to him, and now. However, Thor is more worried about how to meet the other party than the matter of exchanging information. After all, he had promised to fly back after picking up the hammer. Now, I lost my face. The other party completely witnessed the scene of him being beaten by Magneto. The majestic Thor has fallen so far. Although he lost face, Thor still waved to the other party to signal to come down. Seeing the scene of at the moment, Jane hesitated a lot, but in the end she ran down in a hurry and observed several people at a close distance with a little timidity. Especially Aaron, her eyes linger the most. If anyone had the most amazing performance just now, it must be Aaron. Not to mention that Thor played soy sauce all the way to slow down. Even the later Sif and the three warriors fought against Magneto for a while before losing. And they also have to protect Thor from harm. He also showed great power when he handed over the military personnel later. As for Aaron, let alone, if it weren't for him, perhaps Thor and the three warriors would have returned to Valhalla long ago. This is Jane Foster. This is the new generation of God of Magic in our God's domain. The previous generation of God of Magic is my father, Gong. This is. After Thor briefly introduced the two parties, he apologized to Jane. Then there is no more. Seeing this scene, Aaron also knew that the plot had changed again. Because of his existence, Loki took the position ahead of time, and the three warriors also came to Midgard first. Thor and Jane didn't continue to evolve either. So, how does Thor get Mjolnir's approval? Aaron frowned thoughtfully, but Jane continued to observe secretly, not daring to say a word. After all, if Thor hadn't lied, these guys were real gods. Especially Aaron, the god of magic, seems to have the highest status and the strongest strength among them. Aaron also noticed that Jane was observing himself, but his mind was more on the other side now. At this time, Charles finally woke up, and it looked very unexpected, very sudden, completely out of place. Professor, Professor, Orlo and Jean shouted almost simultaneously. I'm fine. Charles took a deep breath, his gaze still fixed on the king of shock that he saw just now. He looked at Aaron and Thor, their hometown, Asgard, with complicated eyes. I also saw Muspelheim in flames and Jotunheim in ice and snow. That's the most shocking scene I've ever seen, and it's immersive. However, when your patron saint took me to visit other places in the 9 realms, he suddenly cut off contact, as if something urgent had happened. Do you need to ask him first? Heimdall is the patron saint of Bifrost. Maybe my father woke up, so he stopped suddenly. Don't worry. Thor thought he guessed. Charles nodded and turned. Looking at Chin, the scene I saw before reappeared in my mind. As a telepathy master, Charles is convinced that what he saw and heard just now is not an illusion. It can't be hallucinations either. The reason is simple. If the other party can control his spiritual mutant from such a long distance, how powerful is that existence? He dare not imagine. Therefore, all this can only explain one point: the other party is, just as he said, a mythical figure. Only gods can do this. Moreover, only gods can live in that kind of wonderful place. After visiting Asgard, Charles saw the luxury and prosperity of the hometown of the gods, as well as the peaceful and serene atmosphere. It is definitely not comparable to the Earth. The Earth is full of intrigues, full of noisy disputes. In comparison, the presence of Chin will definitely prevent another personality explosion in his subconscious. Moreover, even if it erupts, the legendary gods will block it. Charles has made his decision. Chin Gray also knew the answer from the eyes of the other party. Jin, that's the best place for you. In that peaceful place, you will have more time to learn to control the power in your body. As long as you remain conscious, the phoenix in your body cannot appear to affect reality. When the right time comes, I will take another shot to stabilize the mental barrier and completely imprison Beast. Charles said solemnly. However, Aaron gave a different answer: you still want to imprison it. Sometimes you imprison Beast, and Beast will only get angrier. Charles smiled bitterly. But it's too scary. It's a creature driven by purely defensive instincts, full of desire, joy, and anger. We can't imagine what she can do if it is not controlled. For her, I know better than you. Aaron didn't give Charles the intention to continue. In the future, she will be handed over to me, and I will handle it, and you don't have to worry about other things. Yes, in this regard, we have at least hundreds of years of advanced technology than your Midgard, and Aaron is also the best magician among us. He will definitely find a way to deal with that wild beast. Beast, Sif also said cooperatively. Charles saw the confident look in his eyes, and finally he sighed. Okay, I'll leave Chin to you, and I hope you can completely eliminate the beast in her body. You can rest assured about this, at least it is more effective than your method. Aaron said affirmatively. Although there are signs of a revival in Dark Phoenix, Aaron still has the confidence to take control. He has all the power of the Casket of Ancient Winters, and can do a little bit more to seal even the worst of times. And Odin is not dead yet, the two work together, it is not difficult to solve Dark Phoenix. Besides, it seems that at least there will be nothing wrong in the future. At that time, he can even deal with Dark Phoenix alone. After Charles made the decision, Chingali herself didn't express anything else because she was also worried about the awakening of another personality. The parties and the person in charge agreed, and Scott and Logan could only accept their fate. It's just that the look at Aaron is not friendly. This guy abducted Chin when we met for the first time. Since the matter is over, it's time for me to take her back. It doesn't seem to make much sense for Aaron to want to go back early and continue to stay on Earth. And I have to take the piano back. Maybe Asgard's technology can also provide some help. As for the matter of Thor, just leave it to Sif and others later. With their strength, and with the help of X-Men, Thor will not have much problem. But when he called Heimdall, there was no response from the other party. Reminiscent of what Charles said just now, Aaron couldn't help but think of a possibility. The road base still made a move. Bifrost. Heimdall looks back at Loki. Tell me, Loki. How did you bring Jotun Titan into Asgard? Loki smiled and said, you think Bifrost is the only way in and out of Asgard? The 9 kingdoms rely on the world tree to exist, and hide many secret passages between each other. Even if you have the all-seeing eye, you can't see through everything. But from today, I don't need those secret ways anymore, because I am the king. Lord of the 9 realms. And you, I declare. Because you committed treason and privately witnessed Tiff and a warrior go to Midgard. So I leave you as Bifrost. You are no longer a warrior of Asgard. Loki said proudly. Heimdall has never given him a good look, and now the feng shui turns, the mood is much better. He is also very satisfied with his rights as Lord of Asgard. Loki, you are not the real king of Asgard yet. The Father of God is only temporarily asleep, and he never really appointed you king. Heimdall's deep voice sounded. Odin fell asleep in such a hurry that no one knew why he fell asleep suddenly. The only sources claim that he was sleeping with only Loki by his side. But Heimdall, and everyone else, don't believe that Loki has the power to plot against the Father of God. The Father of God is invincible and omnipotent. Loki's little magic, in front of the King of Gods, is nothing but the kung fu of a 3-legged cat. It is also true that no one came forward to question it. In addition, Thor was exiled and the name of Thor was taken away. Only Loki is left to temporarily take over Dominion things. But Heimdall is determined not to recognize each other, he only recognizes Odin, and half of Thor. Yes, you are right, but now I am the ruler of Asgard, your king. My command is the king's command. Loki holds up the eternal lance, which is what symbolizes the throne. Seeing the spear of eternity, Heimdall clenched his fists and drew out his long sword. Since this is the case, I don't have to listen to your cooperation anymore. Loki smiled as he had expected. Aren't you curious how I went to Jotunheim without telling you? You know now. As the words fell, Heimdall split Loki in 2 with a sword. But it's just a phantom. The real Loki has come to him, wielding the Lance of Eternity and unleashing a powerful beam of energy. Heimdall was hit hard, even with the Warframe to protect against most of the attacks. After all, it was an attack that would have killed an unsuspecting Laufey in 2 shots. Compared with Laufey, Heimdall is far worse. This is the secret of magic. Before, Sif began to test you with the invisibility cloak, but you still haven't learned your lesson. Heimdall. Do you think everyone is upright for you to see? The Father of God appointed you as Patronus, which seems to be the wrong choice. Loki shook his head and sneered. Although his magic was not as good as Aaron's, he couldn't really hide it from Heimdall. But that also had to be that Heimdall really paid attention to him. It's a pity that Heimdall, like the 3 warriors, has never been optimistic about Loki's magic, and his vigilance against him is quite low. However, they never thought that before Aaron was born, he was the most capable magician in Asgard. How can a reckless man who only knows how to use brute force act as a patron saint? Loki calls some guards and drives Heimdall into the dungeon. The charge was treason. Add in the attack on the king, and it's enough to keep Heimdall in the dungeon for the rest of his life. After doing all this, Loki took the guardian sword and looked towards the earth. Although he doesn't have all-seeing eyes, he knows who is in that place. Eren, his half-ally, was at his side, to deal with some Midgardian who picked up Mjolnir. Mjolnir, if I can pick it up, it must be more experienced than Thor. However, before that, my dear big brother, I'm sorry. Loki turns and walks away. He decides to teach Thor a profound lesson. Heimdall. Thor tried shouting too. Even though he lost his powers, Heimdall still wouldn't ignore his cries, at least not do anything against Odin's decision for him. However, neither he nor Eren got a response from Heimdall. Could it be that the Ice Titans of Jotunheim took this opportunity to invade Asgard? However, how dare they, who have lost their king, start a war against us? Could they also know what happened to Asgard? Sif has a bad guess. They didn't feel it before, but now that they think about it, Asgard is indeed weak. Lost Thor and Odin successively. Then there's Sif and the three warriors. Then came the greatest magician, Eren. Nowadays, there are not many people with abilities left in Asgard. They look down on Loki, and the only one they can rely on is Heimdall, the Patronus. And things that can keep Heimdall from being distracted will inevitably endanger God's domain. Then, there is only Ice Thunder Titan's revenge. No, just the Titans. They can't even leave Jotunheim. Fandral said affirmatively. Don't forget, the Frost Titan sneaked into the Golden Hall last time. Sif replied immediately. That was an accident. That guy Loki must have done it. To interrupt Thor's coronation. But now that he has become the king of Asgard, he has fulfilled his wish, and there is no reason to help the enemy enter the domain of God. Fandral analyzed. Eren, can you know why? Thor asked anxiously. Although he was expelled, he still regarded himself as a part of Asgard, and now he has no response from Heimdall, and he has not raised Mjolnir. At this moment, he was weaker than ever. Even if he wanted to do something, he couldn't do anything. Eren shook his head. He didn't say anything about the plot prediction. Because now, the so-called plot is no longer reliable. He also couldn't tell what Loki was thinking or doing. After all, Laufey was dead, and the Casket of Ancient Winters fell into his hands. Loki's plan to save Odin by killing Laufey at a critical moment is impossible. Could it be that he is still planning to contact Surta, the Flame Titan King? Isn't that courting death? Maybe Asgard will step into Ragnarok early. And Eren has reason to believe that Loki's going to Surta will not be so smooth. Surta is not as easy to talk to as Laufey. It is estimated that they were tied up with chains and hung up as soon as they met. Could it be that we are going to send destroyer armor again? Eren looked strange. It seems really possible. But on second thought, Loki knew he was here too, so could it be that he was confident that with the destroyer armor, he would be able to beat up Thor without Eren stopping him? After empathizing, Eren thinks that Loki might really think that way. The destroyer armor is a powerful armor made by Odin, specifically used in war. It is made of ulu metal, equipped with high-temperature beam cannon, shapeshifting and other abilities. Its original is an artifact not weaker than Mjolnir. It can act autonomously and can also be controlled by humans. Using the Gun of Eternity, you can control the actions of the destroyer, and its defense is stronger than ordinary uru metal equipment. Because it has been enchanted by Odin, it carries great power. The destroyer, who can be used by Odin to guard the vault, must not be mortal. After all, treasure Curry's items, except for a few rare ones, are of great importance to others, and casually revealing one item can cause many people to snoop and loot, and even threaten the safety of Asgard originally. Both Loki and Thor know of the existence of the destroyer armor. And Loki also knows how to use the Eternal Lance. According to Loki's temperament, it is estimated that the combat effectiveness of the destroyer will be overestimated, and it is not impossible to send him down. But, when the time comes for the destroyer to appear, what should I do? Or not? Eren was torn, but soon, he was not entangled. Because Loki has made the choice for him. Before long, the familiar Bifrost beam appeared. This time it is no longer an ally, but a tall unmanned armor. That's the destroyer. Isn't it responsible for guarding the treasure house? Why did it suddenly appear here? Thor froze, puzzled by its presence. Sif nodded and said, and now that the battle is over, there is no need to send the destroyer at all. Even if there is a problem, with Aaron's strength, it is enough to easily solve everything. The corners of Aaron's mouth twitched slightly. Good guy, are you so optimistic about me? You are more confident than me. Don't set a flag for me. Destroyer. Charles and the others looked at each other in blank dismay. He's not an enemy. I'll go talk to him, Thor said and walked forward. But what greeted him was a light cannon. It looks quite impressive. But Aaron noticed that the light cannon had a flashy feel. He has never fought against the destroyer armor, but he believes that the armor's ability is definitely more than that. So, Loki is keeping his hand. Thinking of this, Aaron didn't make a move immediately, preparing to see if Thor could regain control of Mjolnir under the high pressure of the destroyer. The attack of the destroyer was beyond anyone's imagination. Sif and the others didn't have time to react, because they subconsciously regarded him as their own person who saved the scene. Just in a daze, the light beam hit Thor directly, sending him flying tens of meters away. But with this blow, Thor is fine. Is that what you say you're not enemies? Are you Asgard so warm in their way of greeting? Well, it really is worthy of being a god. In this regard, we are still far behind. Logan complained loudly, brooding about Jean. However, Logan never thought of that. That is to say, his deliberate and loud complaints caused serious dissatisfaction among some people. Loki clearly heard Logan's complaints through the eternal gun. As soon as he saw that he was not an acquaintance, he didn't say anything, and directly sent a light cannon to the other party. This time, he didn't deliberately control the power. What's more, Logan didn't expect at all that his own rant would suck up the hatred. He didn't even say hello, and directly attacked him. This also caused Logan to have no time to react when he realized that the direction of the attack was wrong. Instantly pierced by a light cannon. Asgard is no lowly Midgardian to insult. Loki's expression was slightly cold. He couldn't bear the sight of outsiders insulting Asgard. In his mind, anything in Ashade was the best. Whether it is warriors, landscapes, or identities, they are all nobler than any other race or civilization. Logan stared blankly at the pierced chest, and shouted out with the last of his strength, "Fact squid." The hole would be even hollower if the bones hadn't been transformed into adamantium. Thanks to that strong resilience, Wolverine who was hit by this blow did not die, but recovered quickly in severe pain. But it is impossible to have combat power for a while. Logan, perhaps because of what happened just now, Scott saw Wolverine being injured, so he gave him a rare call, and released laser rays to launch an offensive against the destroyer. However, his attack is useless to the destroyer. The latter just went forward against his output, without even taking any protective measures. The people of Midgard who don't know how to live or die. This is the armor of the Father of God, how can you challenge it? Loki glanced at Scott contemptuously, and he didn't even intend to ask the other party's identity, so he controlled the destroyer and shot him again. Seeing this, Scott quickly jumped to the distance, barely avoiding the fatal blow. But he was still overturned by the explosion U-bow, and he was in a mess. The two X-Men lost successively, and Charles also tried to activate telepathy to control the armor, but after seeing this, Charles silently turned the wheelchair and left. The Warframe wasn't controlled by telepathy, and he couldn't find any clues. If you continue to stay, you will only be able to hold back a few people. At this time, Orlo's eyes turned white, and the sky darkened at this moment. Thor, who had been dazed by the destroyer, finally got up, and when he saw Orlo's movement, he was even more dazed. Besides him, is there anyone in the 9 realms who can control thunder? Oh no, and Aaron. However, Aaron explained that he used the Phantom to release the thunder. But this Midgard man actually summoned thunder. Another god. Thor was completely bewildered. Loki is also shocked by Aurora's actions. Subconsciously alert. He thought of the stupid Big Brother's unreasonable thunder output. After launching her big move for a while, Orlo finally gathered enough strength to control several lightning bolts in the sky to attack the destroyer. Thor saw this and smiled. Such a small lightning. I thought there were people like me in Midgard. Loki also breathed a sigh of relief. Orlo's summoning thunderbolt takes too long to swing forward, and its power is also vulnerable. After being hit by several thunderbolts, the destroyer remained unscathed and launched an attack on Orlo. Loki is ruthless when it comes to these Midgardians who don't know what to do. It never occurred to me to save their lives. Ololo, be careful. Chin Gray opened her hand to release the psychokinesis shield, which is her derivative ability. After being hit by the destroyer's beam cannon, Chin Gray managed to hold on, but it didn't feel good. Seeing this, Eren had no choice but to continue watching, so he could only choose to make a move. After all, if the destroyer really activates Dark Phoenix, it will not end well. Eren waved his hand and released the energy shield, taking over Chin's protection, allowing the latter to barely breathe. With Casket of Ancient Winter's energy absorbing, Eren has absolute confidence in resisting the attack of the destroyer. No matter how strong the destroyer is, it will never possess greater power than the Casket of Ancient Winters. Moreover, its energy beam attack is not strong enough to break through a protective shield with enough energy support. Unless it is replaced by Odin to control the destroyer, maybe. After all, although Loki can manipulate many artifacts, they are only capable, not proficient. It is impossible to unleash the full power of the destroyer. Thank you for Jiao Hao, Eren. Chin smiled gratefully at Eren, and an abnormal blush flashed across his pale face. In fact, Chin's strength is not that weak, just a destroyer beam, it is impossible to make her weaker than this. It's just that more of her spirit and strength are unavailable due to Phoenix's deep sleep. Even affected by it, but even so, her strength is very strong in X-Men. It's just that the performance is unstable in many cases, and there is suspicion of paddling. Eren, why did you stop me from killing the people of Midgard? Loki, far away on the Asgard throne, frowned. He couldn't believe that Eren didn't know he was controlling the destroyer. When Loki sent the destroyer down, he thought Eren would stop him from attacking Thor. It's just that he feels that with the destroyer in hand, no matter if it's Sif, the three warriors, or Eren, it's impossible for him to be his opponent. He is extremely confident in the armor built by Odin. The artifact that destroys everything. That's why he insisted on sending the destroyer, trying to teach Thor a lesson. But he didn't expect that Eren would make a move for a Midgard man. They are allies. Loki took a serious look at Eren, thinking of the terms of their deal. Asgard really needs a magician to guard it. He has become a king, and he is destined to work hard for his subjects all his life. I am afraid that he has no time to specialize in boring magic. And now, the only capable man he can find is Eren. Others are either staunch followers of Odin or friends of Thor. He offered olive branches to these people, but they were rejected without exception. Only Eren. Sleepiness is a bit ambiguous. This means that the other party can win. As a king, how come you have to have one or two hardworking subordinates, right? As for the others, he doesn't mind depriving the other party of their rights. Heimdall was the first, but definitely not the last. Thinking of this, Loki snorted and shifted his target to Thor with a BT smile on his face. My stupid big brother, try your best to please me. Just when the armor of Doomsday came. Far away, Phil Coulson received an order from Nick Fury to go to the battlefield as soon as possible and take charge of the handover with the aliens. It is also to silence the Security Council. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. has a special status and its authority is even wider than that of CIA, FBI and other agencies, it is still not worth mentioning in front of the Security Council. After getting the order, Phil Coulson immediately led the team to set off. On the road, Phil Coulson was thinking about how to explain the military matter during the meeting, and tried his best to restore the relationship between the two parties and obtain the desired intelligence information. Thinking of the difficulty of the task, even Phil Coulson couldn't help but have a headache. Shit, we need to clean up what those guys did on their own. Phil Coulson cursed in a low voice irritably, then looked at the intelligence analysis. But soon, another call came. It's not good, sir, we're fighting again. What's fighting again? Aliens. Another guy in a strange armor came just now, knocked out the X-Men, and is now fighting aliens. Well, I see it. Phil Coulson hung up the phone, frowned and looked at the distant battlefield. In that place, a war is erupting. Is there an end? At the same time, Nick Fury soon received a report from Phil Coulson, and he also sighed similarly to the other party. It's just a hammer, but it has attracted so many monsters and ghosts. Mutants, aliens, the military, and more. Now comes another armored man who doesn't know the details. The melee of all parties attracted everyone's attention. It is simply impossible to start. As ordinary people, they can only watch each other fight in their own country. Before the battle was over, they didn't even dare to approach casually. This is the tragedy of being an ordinary person. Even if they are the best agents, they cannot be avoided. And if you want to deal with the extraordinary, you must rely on other extraordinary. But SHIELD's subordinates currently don't have any transcendence they can handle. Even if it is against a mutant like Magneto, it is powerless. Not to mention the aliens who defeated Magneto. When Nick Fury was wondering how to solve this problem, he received an emergency call. After a while, his expression changed drastically. What? How dare those guys? It's the territory of the United States. There is a small town next to it, where thousands of citizens of the United States live. Stryker, are they crazy? It's just a colonel. How did he move those guys? A bunch of messy guys. Before the call ended, Nick Fury made another call. Phil Coulson, who was watching the game, got the call. Not long after, the originally calm expression changed in an instant. Get out of here, as fast as you can. Fact, this world must be crazy. And at a certain military base in the desert of New Mexico. 2 planes slowly took off from the airport, quickly approach in the direction of Aaron. At the same time, a small town not far from the battlefield. A force moved in, and in conjunction with the local police, urgently commanded all residents to leave. Those with cars drove, and those without cars pushed and squeezed into the transport vehicles. Every time a car is filled, it starts to drive away immediately, without giving anyone a chance to object. Some hotel. Dr. Eric and his assistant Daisy, who came with Jane, were also loved by the soldiers. Looking at the small town that was undergoing a mass evacuation, Eric showed doubts. Doctor, is war going to break out here? Daisy asked in confusion. War? This is the territory of America. Who dares to attack us? Did you not notice that there were no other troops stationed besides this one? Furthermore, the military convoy did not intend to shut down, because the soldiers did not take any defensive measures. Clearly, what they want to do is not war, but evacuation. Eric analyzed and said, but if so, what happened to make this happen? Daisy was even more puzzled. Could it be related to Jane? When Jane called just now, she briefly explained the situation on the battlefield. So both of them knew that something happened not far from the town. Eric called the other party back many times at that time to prevent danger. But they were all rejected. After all, curiosity is the nature of human beings. No, the real retreat shouldn't start now. There must be something about to happen. The regiment will ask the military to evacuate the people. Daisy scratched her head. Isn't there going to be a big explosion, or even affect the town? Big Bang. How could it be? Dr. Eric didn't even think about denying it, but a possibility he never thought of popped up suddenly, and his face became quite ugly. They wouldn't do that, would they? Simple. Eric quickly took out his mobile phone, but found that the signal had disappeared at some point. Things really went in the most dire direction. Eric suddenly went crazy. Regardless of the soldiers' obstruction, he hurriedly drove the car towards Jane's direction. Doctor, what happened? Daisy looked at Eric, who was almost mad, in horror. BJED. Eric drove through the checkpoint at full speed despite the warning shots fired by the military, looking like he was crazy. They're going to use nuclear bombs against aliens. What? Daisy's frightened face became almost distorted. Why did we turn around and leave? Jane is still there. They have blocked the signal to prevent the news from leaking. Eric didn't answer. Hearing this, Daisy wanted to cry but had no tears. Obviously, Eric is no longer something she can dissuade. It was just for the smooth passing of the thesis, and she actually had to risk her life for it. The other side. The destroyer is fighting Sif and the 3 warriors and others. As the most elite fighters, Sif and others have shown far stronger physical fitness and combat ability than X-Men at this moment. With the cooperation of the 4, they could even fight back and forth with the destroyer. In comparison, the X-Men can only flee in embarrassment, without the ability to fight at all. At this time Wolverine Logan also woke up. With his powerful self-healing ability, his death seems to be a luxury. But the pain still made him feel very uncomfortable. Even after waking up, he took the initiative to join the battle against the destroyer. For the destroyer who doesn't talk about martial arts, he is going to use the indestructible Edelman's claws to show the opponent a little bit of color. However, Logan managed to get close to the armor with his near-immortal body bearing the damage, and when he was about to replace the wound with a wound, he was surprised to find that his indestructible claws could not even leave a scratch on the opponent's body. Why is this happening? People of Midgard, the casting material of the destroyer armor is Asgard's Uru metal, which was forged by the dwarf king himself. Naturally, your limp claws cannot cause damage. This is not a battle you can participate in, leave. Just as Vostag finished speaking, he was knocked into the air by the destroyer, a laser beam. This attack, enough to destroy steel, fell on him, only making him lie on the ground for a while. When he stood up again, he looked fine. Logan, however, was not treated so well. He was slapped away by the destroyer directly. Even a single blow with dozens of tons of force is enough to cause bones to shatter and internal organs to bleed profusely. It is good luck not to be flattened directly. Unlike Vostag, Logan lay down for a while. In this kind of battle, Logan's sharp claws can't cause damage, and his strength is far inferior to the three warriors and others. The only thing he can do is to attract firepower and be an unbeatable Xiaoqiang. No, I feel a danger is coming. At this time, Chin Gray felt an inexplicable sense of crisis by virtue of the mutated telepathy ability. She raised her head and looked into the distance, as if some kind of terrible attack was about to come in the endless sky. Aaron looked over too. He frowned slightly. He does not have a special sense similar to Chin, something similar to spider telepathy, which can predict danger in advance. So naturally I don't know what danger Chin feels. But soon, the answer appeared. Here it comes, said Jean. Aaron also had a perception of what the so-called crisis was. I saw 2 black dots in the sky in the distance. 4 more missiles were then released. That's a nuke. The actions of Aaron and Chin also made others discover the attack from the sky. Sif et al. Did not know what this was. But the faces of the X-Men changed drastically. A thought flashed through my mind. We have been abandoned. S.H.I.E.L.D. lied to us. They want us to die with the aliens. Orlo's face was stern, but she couldn't hide her fear in her heart. That is the crystallization of human wisdom. It is a super weapon that is enough to keep people who conquer each other relatively peaceful for decades. Mutants have undergone some evolution, but few mutants are nuclear-proof. Once it exploded in the air, perhaps only Wolverine could get away with it among the soldiers present. Everyone else must die. What's that? Seeing that the faces of the people in Midgard were not right, Thor asked curiously. That is a weapon capable of killing gods. Once detonated, at least a few kilometers away from Fang Yuan will be devastated. God-killing weapon. I don't think it deserves to be called that. Thor said disapprovingly. But then, his complexion changed. Although he doesn't think that thing can kill gods, but he is not a god now. Even deprived of his physical fitness, he is no better than ordinary people. In other words, he really might be gone. It killed Thor in time, and the god-killing weapon was confirmed. Scott, can you stop them? Charles asked. Scott pressed his glasses, and as the missiles kept moving, he said with an ugly face, their speed is too fast, I'm not sure if I can aim it. And they have 4. I can only do my best. Orlo is already accumulating strength at this moment, trying to summon the storm to detonate the nuclear bomb in advance. Even detonating at this distance can cause a lot of damage to them. But after all, there is some hope of survival. As long as you can live, thank God. Maybe we can release Eric, who can steer the bomb around. Charles looked at Aaron and suggested. At this time, Magneto, who was in the cage, also discovered the nuclear bomb. But in the cage, he has little control over the external magnetic force. No way at all. At this distance, deflect the nuke. It's not that troublesome. Aaron didn't panic at all. While others were still thinking about how to solve the nuclear warhead, he had already hacked into the flight crew and learned about the military base where the plane took off. Since they are so enthusiastic, then we should also redouble our reciprocation. In the suspicious eyes of everyone, Aaron waved his hand and created an ice blue portal, including 4 nuclear bombs. Next second, the nuclear bomb disappeared from sight. Where did they go? Chin, who was going to try to control the nuclear bomb with psychokinesis, was puzzled. At this distance and speed, with her ability, she can control the direction of a nuclear bomb at most, unless the Dark Phoenix in her subconscious is released. Where they should go, Aaron said mysteriously. Now. Stryker was toasting with his lieutenants. Colonel, your wish is about to come true. Professor X and Magneto will die there together today. The adjutant congratulated. No, my wish is not over yet. Their death is just the beginning, there are many more demons like them. I want them all to go back to hell. Stryker gritted his teeth and said, from his face, there was no mercy, only killing. A staunchly anti-mutant force, Stryker is determined to kill all mutants. For this reason, he did not hesitate to conduct human experiments secretly many times that would shock the world. The innocent mutants who died at his hands are countless. But he never regretted it. In his eyes, all mutants should die. They are defective products of human evolution, vanguards of Satan's corruption of the world, and time bombs that endanger human rule. However, Colonel, we didn't contact Senator Kate before. He suddenly made a deal with us this time. I always think it's a conspiracy. The adjutant asked cautiously. Stryker shook his head. It doesn't matter if it's a conspiracy or not, as long as he does what he promised us, everything else is fine. If it weren't for Magneto and X-Men blocking my actions many times, how come I haven't solved the mutant problem until now? They want our research data, just give it to them. Compared to the upcoming harvest, everything is worth it. The adjutant nodded and said no more. But at this moment, the soldiers who had been paying attention to the trajectory of the nuclear bomb suddenly screamed. Sir, something is wrong. We lost track of the nuke. What? Stryker jumped at the case. Quickly check where the nuclear bomb is. Mutant, they must be doing it. Found it, the current location of the nuclear bomb is. The soldier stared at the constant feedback of red dots on the screen, and was momentarily stunned. Because 4 nuclear bombs, no, it should be 8 nuclear bombs, back to their starting point. Boom, 8 majestic mushroom clouds rose from a military base in New Mexico. In the minds of all those who followed this action, another mushroom cloud also set off. They all have a question in their minds. Why did the nuclear bombs that were about to arrive at the designated location and detonate in the sky return to the military base in greater numbers? With just one blow, this base will be wiped off the map. ... Back to where they were supposed to go. Everyone was a little puzzled by Aaron's answer. Charles frowned, his face suddenly changed. Could it be? Aaron shrugged. No need to guess, I just sent them back to the starting point, now it should be. Before Aaron could finish speaking, a strong shock came, and then everyone saw the scene of the mushroom cloud detonating. For a while, everyone was silent. Is this the weapon of the people of Midgard? The people of Midgard, they really want to start a war between the two countries. If they expect it, then they expect it. Thor Rage said. If it wasn't for the fact that Thor's power hadn't been taken back yet, he would have sent a few thunderbolts to the other party. Let them know the wrath of Thor. Wait, this may be a misunderstanding. Seeing that Asgard was going to launch a war against the Earth, Charles, who knew a part of Asgard's scene, quickly dissuaded him. Misunderstanding. Do you think this can be explained by misunderstanding? Aaron's expression was also not good. If the nuke really detonated over them, Aaron didn't think he had grown to the point where he could resist the nuke. I will give you a satisfactory answer, I promise. Anyone involved in this matter, I will find out and hand it over to you. Charles took a deep breath. In order to prevent the outbreak of war between the two countries, this professor who has always advocated peace also showed another side. Better so, or I'll do it myself. Aaron laughed a word, then looked to the other side. There, he felt a prying eye. After sensing the sense of spying, Aaron looked over. At first he wondered if it would be Heimdall, because he did not perceive the existence of human beings. But on second thought, it's impossible. Having failed to contact Heimdall earlier, and Loki dispatching the destroyer armor, it's clear the Patronus has failed again. Moreover, this time it was solved by Rocky, who did not have a box of cold water. Aaron wasn't surprised that Heimdall would lose to Loki. Loki's spells seem to be just playing tricks on people, but if they are used properly, they can definitely easily defeat people with similar levels of strength. Except those who are crushed by strength like Hulk and Thor, including Sif and the 3 warriors, all of them may be single-killed by Loki. Loki is best at invisibility and illusion, and in the original book, he has the experience of deceiving Odin for a short time. It was fairly easy to trick the unwary Heimdall. Aaron shook his head regretfully. When he took out the invisibility cloak, one was to test whether the opponent had the strength to see through the invisibility magic, and the other was to make Heimdall strengthen his vigilance to avoid being approached by the invisible enemy again. But it's clear that Heimdall didn't take his test to heart. Perhaps he thought that, except for Aaron, no one else was worthy of his all-seeing eye observation. So, who else is Heimdall? This sense of voyeurism gave Aaron the feeling that he was far away and yet very close. He can be sure that the other party is not using invisibility magic. At present, no one can surpass him in stealth attainments. It seems that that person does not exist in this space. And he even suspected that the other party had come here a long time ago. Now he can sense that it was all done on purpose by the other party. Could it be her? Aaron thought of a possibility, Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One. On Earth, there are only a few well-known magicians he knows. Agatha, Ancient One, etc. Among them, Tongue One is the most likely. And this imperceptible sense of spying reminded him of a well-known magic of Kamar-Taj, mirror space magic. The user can use mana to create a special space of his own, between reality and illusion. Moreover, the user can do whatever he wants in it like the Chuangshi god, and the killing of the enemy is real. This magic can be used to trap enemies, kill enemies, and even monitor reality. It is difficult to find people in the mirror space by ordinary means. Because they don't know the principle, the magic strength can't reach the level of Mephisto. Aaron, what did you find? Sensing Aaron's anomaly, Thor's expression turned serious. Maybe, I can't help you deal with the destroyer anymore, and a friend wants to see me. Aaron mused. If it is really Ancient One, then the purpose of choosing to find him at this point in time is questionable. Friends of Midgard, who are they? Thor looked puzzled. They all know that Aaron has almost never left Asgard for more than 1,000 years. The only 2 departures were with them to Vanaheim and Jotunheim. It is impossible to have been to Midgard, and it is impossible to have friends. Who knows? At least she's inviting me. After the words fell, a golden door suddenly appeared. And coming to Aaron at a speed beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Aaron didn't try to stop it. He also wanted to see what the opponent was planning when they fought. But before entering it, Aaron glanced at the piano, and quickly pulled her over. No way, they know how dangerous Jean is, but Loki doesn't. If Loki is really asked to do something stupid, the other party can sit leisurely in Asgard, but he is the one who is in trouble. Thor originally wanted to hold Aaron to face the upcoming enemies together. But obviously, the owner of the Golden Door does not welcome Thor to enter. Even though Thor had held Aaron, the door kicked him out, only Aaron and Chingri were brought in. Thor was stunned for a moment, and quickly realized that people don't want him. What's the situation? I'm so unwelcome, you're treating me differently. After the Golden Portal, it is a desert area that is indistinguishable from the outside world. Here is the temporary camp battlefield, with Thor who expresses dissatisfaction and the destroyer who is in a state of anxiety. Where is this place? Chin Gray walked in this space curiously, and she also found that Thor, who was supposed to be right in front of her eyes, couldn't see her existence at all. And as soon as she raised her hand, she could pass through the opponent's body. It's as if the 2 sides are in different spaces. Aaron was also trying to look around here. He has heard about the mirror space for a long time. But seeing is better than hearing 100 times. This time I finally experienced this magic, so naturally I have to try to understand its principle. Even in the future, even in the face of similar enemies, there are ways to deal with them. Maybe use a portal to get out. After all, no matter how special this place is, it is just a projection of reality, a special space. Using the power of space, you can come in and out at will. It may also be possible to forcibly break the space with a huge amount of energy. I just don't know if the power stored in the Casket of Ancient Winters has that ability. It's mirror space, a trivial little magic. The owner of the space finally appeared. She just entered the space directly, and appeared in front of the 2 of them without warning. Familiar attire, and a very discerning bald head. Welcome the god of magic from Asgard, and the strongest adapter with the Phoenix Force. Very happy to meet all of you. Ancient One looked at Aaron at this time. You seem to know who I am. Aaron nodded as if admitting, before coming here, the Empress mentioned Kamar-Taj to me, and the strongest magician among them, Ancient One known as Sorcerer Supreme. Ancient One humbled himself. I can't be called the strongest magician, but I have studied longer than them, and compared to Asgard, the hometown of the gods, I am much worse. Probably so. Aaron didn't believe what the Ancient One said. Kamar-Taj is, after all, the front line of defense against the Mephisto dimension on Earth. Countless Mephistos who tried to spy on the Earth all left with hatred in front of Ancient One. And those Mephistos are not good stubble. Each has a huge dimensional universe. There are different levels of strength, but the weakest one definitely has the strength above the first-class superhero. Slightly stronger, even comparable to Odin. The best among them even have the power to destroy a single universe or even affect multi-universe. But Ancient One's ability to keep those tough bones out is enough to show her ability. Even if she is likely to rely on the magic circle formed by the 3 holy places and the time gem, and even the white magic god Wyshandi behind it. But if its original strength is poor, it is absolutely impossible to protect the Earth for hundreds of years. Perhaps as guessed, Ancient One has the same level of power as Odin. But compared with Odin, her body is more fragile, not even much stronger than ordinary people. She is also the opposite of crispy magician. It's like Loki, no matter how bad his magic is, he can be treated like this by Hulk without any damage. Try Ancient One instead. Aaron also saw her ending, and the group will find a way to find magic to improve their physical fitness. Not enough for now, this idea will be postponed indefinitely. Sorcerer Supreme, what's the matter with you inviting me in this time? I don't remember dealing with you. Aaron didn't continue to talk to the other party, and spoke bluntly. Ancient One still kept a warm smile. I came to you this time mainly because of the request of the Father of the Gods. I hope you will not continue to interfere with Thor's affairs in the near future. Thor needs to grow up, he needs to know the responsibility and significance of being Thor and being a king. If he only relies on Mjolnir, then he will never be able to appreciate the true power hidden in his body and flowing in his blood. Aaron frowned. He really didn't expect that the arrival of Ancient One was actually ordered by Odin. It seems that secretly, Odin did deal with Ancient One. Presumably, the Earth is still the territory of Asgard in name. As the father of the gods, no matter how stupid Odin is, he would not even know what mysterious forces were born on the Earth. Perhaps, Odin also has the idea of using the power of Kamar-Taj to resist the prying eyes of the dimension Mephisto. After all, those guys are just too much of a headache. One by one, they are thinking about how to enter the Earth and take the Earth as their own. I don't know why I went crazy, so I just stared at the ground and begged for it. Chin looked at Aaron and Ancient One curiously. She was still a little confused by what they said. I can only think about it briefly with a few words. In order not to disturb the conversation between the two, she listened patiently and quietly. I see. Thor's matter, I will not take action for the time being. But you're sure you're not here just for this one thing, are you? Aaron said firmly. If it's just that, Odin could have used the god's telekinesis to inform him. Definitely, the fact that Odin is indeed very weak cannot be ruled out. Ancient One nodded and said, in addition to this matter, the Father of the Gods also told me that maybe you can try to come to Kamar-Taj to further pry into the mysteries of magic. Aaron raised an eyebrow. What does Odin mean? Is this going to drive him out? Or is it because he is afraid that his limelight will surpass Thor, causing the latter to be completely crushed? Odin deliberately ignored Aaron before, and did not arrange other battles, so that the name of Thor could surpass Aaron and become the most admired person by the people of Asgard again. Now it is not impossible to spend him on Asgard through this move. Aaron doesn't know what Odin really thinks, but he still has great interest in studying in Kamar-Taj. Will you? Aaron asked back. Letting a foreign magician enter his own territory and learn a lot of magic knowledge, if it were Asgard, he would definitely not agree. Magic is precious. If you are not one of your own, why would others open up to you? Definitely yes, the god of magic is willing to come to Kamar-Taj, why would he refuse? There was no trace of hypocrisy in Ancient One's tone, and he said very sincerely, whether you are from Earth or not, or a magician from Kamar-Taj, as long as you are willing to protect the Earth, the 9 realms, and this universe, then Kamar-Taj will always you are welcome. Also, your ability is the best I've ever met. I am looking forward to the emergence of a great magician who has mastered all magical knowledge. You will bring hope to the world. It can be seen that Ancient One is very willing to invite Eren. This makes Eren even feel that the other party has seen the future through the time gem. Scene. Did he use magic in the future to save the Earth many times? A future with its own existence. It's fun. Eren thought about it and decided to study in Kamar-Taj for a while. If Odin is really going to let him out, to give Thor enough time to establish his prestige and save people's hearts, then even if he refuses the Ancient One's invitation, there will be other reasons to send him out. Better go directly to Kamar-Taj. At least no one here is hiding from him. But before heading to Kamar-Taj, Eren has one more thing to do. I'll take you to Asgard first to meet the Queen of Heaven. In a short time, you may be with the Queen of Heaven. In the Golden Hall, you should be safe. Safe for at least 2 years. Eren added in his mind. He wasn't sure if Heimdall would be careless again when the time came to allow the Dark Elves to break in. The big deal is that when the time comes, the piano will be moved ahead of time. After speaking, Eren greeted Ancient One, opened the portal, and left the mirror space with Chin. Ancient One did not stop Eren's actions. As she said, she likes Eren's ability. Sincerely hope that the other party can learn the magic of Kamar-Taj. It would be a waste if such a capable person does not learn more magic knowledge. And Ancient One is still thinking carefully. As long as Eren enters Kamar-Taj, maybe he will also stay in Kamar-Taj in the future, because of the resistance to the Dimension Mephisto. Point 0. His ability is amazing, even more terrifying than the future successor she first picked. Eren's future is unlimited. Golden Hall. Through the portal, Eren came to Asgard with Chin. Notify the guard directly, and go to find Frigg. As the god of magic, he even has his own residence in the Golden Hall. Being able to meet Odin and Frigga directly is also one of the rites. Come to the place where Odin sleeps. Frigga is still sitting next to him, seemingly not moving. And Odin is still lying on the bed, with his eyes closed, his breath of life is very weak. If it weren't for the news from Ancient One, Eren might still be in doubt. But Eren didn't point it out, but told Frigg about Chin Gray. Odin, who remained asleep, was also silently listening to the news from the outside world. When he heard that Eren intended to keep Chin in Asgard, he couldn't help but want to get up and directly object. Putting such a time bomb in Asgard. Isn't this adding trouble to myself? Asgard has enough trouble. He didn't want to add another bomb, and it was a terrible bomb. The violent and powerful force in the piano deeply shocked Odin. He wasn't afraid before, but it's different now. He also wants to continue to shine for Asgard. Even if his body is very weak and broken, as long as he stays in Asgard one day, Ragnarok will be one day late. But if a Chinchi with Phoenix force comes and explodes, even if he can suppress the opponent, he will collapse early. Therefore, Odin firmly disagrees with letting Jean stay in Asgard. Never agree. Frigg was ready to agree. If it can bring stability to the 9 realms, she is willing to keep Chin by her side and guide her to learn to master that crazy calendar area. She believes that as long as Chin stays rational and kind, and treats that personality with sincerity, she can live in harmony with each other. In this world, as long as you have the heart, there is nothing you can't do. However, when Odin's the god's telekinesis came, Frigg hesitated. She looked at Odin, who was still asleep. She said apologetically. Eren, I'm afraid you will have to take the piano. The God King doesn't know when he will wake up. Besides, Chin doesn't understand Asgard's habits. The unfamiliar environment may aggravate her worries. Perhaps you could take her with you to Kamar-Taj, where much lost magic and dimensional lore are recorded. There, you may be able to get a solution to the Phoenix. Hearing this, Eren was keenly aware of the problem. His eyes swept over Odin, then he nodded and said, in that case, I will take Chin to Kamar-Taj. Please, Eren. Frigg sympathizes with Chin's experience, but also understands Odin's difficulties. Between Jean and Asgard, she chose the latter. For this, Chang Gray didn't care. If they can continue to stay on Earth, even if it is not the Mutant Academy, that would be good. At least I can go back and see my professors and friends again anytime. Back to Earth, Ancient One did not refuse Chin's arrival like Odin did. She believes in Aaron's magical abilities. As long as Aaron is around, that ancient and mysterious power will not be a dead body. Mastering the sling ring is essential to learning magic. Sling ring allows us to travel freely in various places, even multi-universe. It is also the key to your mastery of the portal. Now, all you have to do is focus and imagine. Picture out the destination you want to reach in your mind, and look far beyond what you can see. Remember, try to imagine every detail as much as possible. The more specific and clear, the easier it is for the portal to open. When Aaron and Ancient One return to Kamar-Taj, they see Mordo from Doctor Strange teaching a new group of apprentices. Under his guidance, each apprentice tried to draw a portal in the air. This kind of space magic is high-level magic for Asgard. But in Kamar-Taj, absolutely the most basic magic. You only need to use the sling ring, a magic weapon, and after a certain period of practice, you can cast the portal at will. And the teleportation distance is farther, and it can even reach any imaginable place. Ancient One saw Aaron's curiosity and explained. Some magic is too powerful to maintain, and the power of space is difficult for ordinary people to grasp. We can only inject it into objects and let them bear the burden we cannot bear. The sling ring carries the power of space, it saves us from studying space, and allows a beginner to learn teleportation at the fastest speed. Different from Asgard's portal, although it is easier for us to rely on the sling ring to master the teleportation, once we lose the sling ring, we will lose the teleportation ability. The previous mirror space was also generated by sling ring? Aaron asked. No, the mirror space is a special dimension, and things there will not affect the real world. Ancient One explained. In fact, the sling ring is just a key to enter and exit the mirror space, without which we will not be able to leave there. But you are different, you master the mysteries of space, you can leave there at will, maybe you only need to spend a little effort to understand it, and you can master its power. Ancient One took out a sling ring and said, I don't think you need this thing, do you? Aaron shook his head. If the mirror space does not exist by relying on the sling ring, then he really does not need this thing, even if the sling ring makes it easier for him to teleport. Even its teleportation distance is farther than he is now. But his portal is not limited to this. When he came to Kamar-Taj this time, he also wanted to seize the time to improve his strength, and learning new magic was the second priority. In comparison, Kamar-Taj may be more suitable for cultivation than Asgard, because it is more peaceful. If you want to learn mirror space, I can also teach you. With your ability, it is not difficult to learn. Although I don't think it is necessary, because it is not difficult for you to master more powerful space power. Ancient One sighed and said. She has lived for hundreds of years and has seen the many dimensions of Mephisto. Also traveled to many parallel universes. But it was the first time she had seen a task like Aaron's. I'm afraid that Steven, the successor she originally identified, is far behind Aaron in terms of magic practice. She has one more secret she hasn't told Aaron. That is, she can see part of the future. Just a small portion. No matter how far in the future, she will never be able to spy on Aaron again. What does that mean? It means that Aaron may have grown to the point of transcending time during that unobservable time. The long river of fate can no longer respect him. Definitely, it is also possible to enter a realm that cannot be snooped. Sealed forever. However, the latter is obviously impossible. Aaron didn't think too deeply about Ancient One's exclamation. Although the mirror space is quite good space magic. But he still has confidence beyond that. Teacher Modu, who was teaching apprentices, saw Ancient One coming, and hurriedly saluted. At the same time, he glanced at Aaron and Chang Gray curiously. His eyes lingered on Aaron for a long time. With his magical attainments, he can naturally feel that the opponent is wearing a magic weapon. But for Aaron, he is quite unknown. I can't remember where I saw him before. This is my disciple Modu, an excellent magician. Ancient One introduced Aaron. Aaron nodded, looked at Mordo and then moved away. Although Modu is the disciple of Ancient One, he is destined to be cannon fodder. And in the future, Ancient One and Steven will choose to leave because they have violated the teachings of Kamar-Taj successively. Modu, go and call the king. Ancient One didn't introduce Aaron and Aaron directly, but ordered Modo. Mordo glanced at Aaron before leaving. I always feel that this person's magic fluctuates strangely. Modu is a qualified magician, but sometimes he is very old-fashioned, a little paranoid, and easily addicted to power. Ancient One explained casually. Qualification and paranoia don't work well sometimes, Aaron said meaningfully. Ancient One did not deny it, but said, everyone has his original destiny, and until that day comes, he is my disciple. Aaron understood that Gu had known for a long time how Mordo would choose in the end. But she still took the other party under her door and taught them various spells. In the face of fate, she chose to obey. Probably Ancient One knew that with her power, in addition to being obedient to time, if she wanted to change it, it would only make things worse. Chin is still confused, she really doesn't understand what the two of them are going to say. Is this the world of magic? It's amazing. It feels so profound just to talk. Chin stood beside Aaron silently, like an obedient and well-behaved little daughter-in-law. But this, little daughter-in-law, has another completely different personality hidden in her body. Not long, Mordo came with another person. It was the librarian Wong. In the future, he even succeeded Doctor Strange as the new Sorcerer Supreme. Sorcerer Supreme, what do you want from me? Wong Gong respectfully saluted. This is Aaron, the god of magic from Asgard, and he will browse more magic knowledge with us in the future. Except for those books in the library, he can browse at will. Ancient One ordered. Hearing what Ancient One said, both Wong and Modu looked at Aaron in surprise. They were still wondering what Aaron's identity was, and they were even able to let Ancient One personally receive him. I didn't expect it to be so big. That's Asgard, the legendary place where the gods live. However, they were even more curious and unconvinced that Aaron looked so young and was called the god of magic by Ancient One. Does he deserve it? In their hearts, the current Ancient One is the most powerful magician. She is the latest to inherit the title of Sorcerer Supreme. In terms of contribution, it is second only to the almighty Agamotto. That is the legend who built the three holy places, repelled the Mephisto of many dimensions, and laid the foundation of Kamar-Taj. And Ancient One is equally powerful and mysterious, but even she is not qualified to be the god of magic. How can Aaron wear this title? Both Modu and Wong felt a little uncomfortable. But Wong still said honestly, understood, Sorcerer Supreme. For Ancient One, he respects him from the bottom of his heart. As long as it is her order, Tien will definitely obey. He believes that every word of Ancient One has a deep meaning. Then this lady. Wong looked at Chin and asked Ancient One. She is the host of the Phoenix, so we put her in Aaron next door. No one is allowed to disturb her without permission. Ancient One thought for a while and said. Ancient One is also worried about the outbreak of Phoenix Force. That force, traced back to the source, can even reach the beginning of things. Ancient One didn't know about it, only knew that it existed. It was very ancient, and also beyond the reach of time. Even Ancient One does not dare to use the predicted future to make accurate judgments about things that it does not understand. Because the future is constantly changing and unpredictable. The possibilities are endless. Wang's heart trembled. This is another big guy. But what is the origin of Phoenix? Why wouldn't even Sorcerer Supreme talk about it? The next two will stay in Kamar-Taj well. Although it is far from the harmony and prosperity of Asgard, nor the freedom and beauty of the outside world, believe me, there is also a unique charm here. After Ancient One gave his orders, he took Aaron to visit Kamar-Taj. Because she knows too much about the future, she is always calm and rarely reveals her inner thoughts, just like a saint. But she also has small thoughts. Keeping Aaron in Kamar-Taj is what she wants to do most. Although the odds are low. But she is willing to work for it. Because of the appearance of Aaron, she saw a bright future. Prior to this, there was no scene of Aaron seen by Ancient One. But now, time has fluctuated. A god of magic is growing at an unimaginable speed. After a few people left, Modu and Wong were relatively silent. At this time, another very thin man who didn't look like a good man approached. Wong, senior brother Modu. Just now the teacher said that man is the god of magic. Caecilius, eavesdropping is not a good habit. You should do your own thing. Modu frowned. Understood senior brother, I'm just curious, the god of magic should be very strong, right? Caecilius smiled a bit reluctantly, he didn't have much affection for Modu. Although Modu hides it deeply, in the eyes of other magicians, he is a strict and old-fashioned image of a good teacher. In fact, Caecilius feels that the other party is the same person as himself. They are all on the road of pursuing strength. The difference is that he wants to save what he lost for the sake of power, while Modu simply wants power. After hearing that there might be a god of magic among the people who came, Caecilius began to think carefully. Maybe you can get what you want from that person. In fact, Kamar-Taj is no stranger to God. Because they often deal with dimension Mephisto, every Mephisto is a god. But before, they dealt with each other through the dimension, but this time they did meet the gods face to face. The difference is quite big. Caecilius, the Sorcerer Supreme, said, "Don't bother them without permission." Wong reminded. For Caecilius, his senses were not good. The opponent is Kamar-Taj's youngest big magician, whose ability is recognized by everyone. But the opponent is too obsessed with power. He even asked him about forbidden magic intentionally or unintentionally many times. If he hadn't had any problems with Fang Ping, he would have even reported it to Ancient One. Understood. Seeing that he couldn't find anything useful to ask, Caecilius turned and left. Wong, do you think he is it really the god of magic? Modu asked. Who knows? Anyway, Sorcerer Supreme said he is, magician will not lie to us. Wong said casually and turned to leave. He is a librarian, and he needs to go back and look at it carefully to prevent apprentices from seeing magic books that cannot be learned. Modu stood there for a moment, and then continued to supervise the learning of the new batch of apprentices. The other side. After the news of Aaron's enthusiastic return of gifts, this matter has completely exploded. A military base was directly wiped out by a nuclear bomb. And it's also located in the United States itself. Most importantly, this military base also stores other nuclear bombs. The follow-up reaction of this explosion can no longer be suppressed. Because the people who evacuated the town at that time saw a series of terrifying mushroom clouds. If it weren't for the distance between the two sides, perhaps the problem caused by this incident would be even more serious. The one who bears the brunt is Senator Kate, who proposes to use nuclear weapons to deal with aliens. This old congressman who has close ties with the military is actually one of the people secretly supported by Hydra. Definitely, no one knows about it. However, Nick Fury, who was disrupted by him, said he had something to say. Especially after hearing Charles relay Aaron's words, Nick Fury was even more furious. If this matter is not handled properly, it may trigger a war between the United States and the legendary Norse gods. And it is said that there is a possibility and basis for cooperation between the Protoss and the Earth. But after this incident, whether the two sides can carry out the next step of cooperation remains to be discussed. Coupled with dissatisfaction with politicians and the military, Nick Fury launched his own influence on their output. During the period, Pierce even came to talk to Nick Fury, but he refused decisively. It made Pierce feel like his dignity was being challenged. But for Fury, he doesn't have a good idea either. He didn't know why Fury was so determined to get rid of Counselor Kate even if he didn't hesitate to fight with himself. To this end, Nick Fury even dispatched SHIELD agents to collect evidence from the other party. If it weren't for the people from Hydra among them, and there was still room for manipulation, Hydra might have been exposed in advance. Member Kate must die. He's not dead, that guy Fury won't let it go. What the hell is going on? Why is Fury so irrational? Pierce couldn't figure it out. In his eyes, it was just a nuke to deal with a group of guys who might threaten Hydra's plan. On the bright side, it is still beneficial to the United States and all mankind. He thinks Nick Fury will understand his decision. But he didn't expect that the other party would fight him in the ring. Could it be what those people said? Pierce felt very unwilling. He had no subordinates in X-Men, so naturally he didn't know the ultimatum issued by Aaron. And Charles and Nick Fury were alone again. Once the two have any communication, Pierce has nothing to do. In this situation, Pierce can only choose to give up Counselor Kate. The Insights program isn't done yet, and Nick Fury can't go wrong just yet. He also needs the other party, and needs SHIELD to hatch more elites for Hydra and collect more intelligence. Just when Pierce decided to get rid of Senator Kate, Nick Fury is also having a secret meeting with his staff. This time, he only called in his subordinates who could be absolutely assured at the moment. his Lieutenant's Hill agent, Hawkeye Barton, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff. As for Phil Coulson, he is still following up in New Mexico. Sir, I'm still monitoring Stark, he's not in a good condition at the moment. If you call me back like this, there might be problems over there. Natasha Romanoff was still wearing a secretary outfit. Not long after she applied for Steck Industries, she was not familiar with the job to hide her identity, so she was called back by Nick Fury. I called other people's attention to Stark's problem, and now we have more troublesome problems. Nick Fury swept across the crowd, then took out a large stack of documents from under the table and threw them in front of them. Then asked Hill to call up the video sent back by Phil Coulson. Several people looked at the content of the video in doubt, and then looked at the information. Not long, all feel scalp tingling. Before we knew it, the United States was in such a big trouble. A god who easily defeated Magneto and made the X-Men dare not make any moves, actually wants to fight them. And behind it, there is still a kingdom of God. The authenticity of it has been confirmed from Charles. If this matter is not handled properly, the consequences will be disastrous. Nick Fury also had a headache and said, "Let's talk, how should the next question be allocated? If we don't find out all the people who are related to this nuclear peace operation, the Asgard god of magic will personally come to the door to send warmth. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more."